Chapter 163. Taking in large mouthfuls of fresh air, Lin Muyu's martial soul's power was like a dried-up pool of water, and at this time, after escaping, it finally began to gather into a stream bit by bit. After about 5 minutes, her complexion looked much better, but the wounds on her body looked a little scary. Qin Jin supported Qin Yin's arm and asked with concern, "Xiao Yin, are your injuries serious?" "Not serious. Father doesn't need to worry too much." Qin Yin tidied up her long hair that was covered in mucus and pouted, "But I need to find a place to take a bath. My body is so dirty and uncomfortable. Imperial Father, can I borrow your central courtyard to take a bath?" Qin Jin couldn't help but laugh. "Someone, bring Her Highness to the central courtyard to take a bath." Qin Yin turned to look at Lin Muyu and said, "You, wait for me to tidy myself up before coming to see you." "You are the same, your whole body is dirty, quickly go and take a bath?" "Yes, Your Highness." Lin Muyu smiled respectfully. Qin Jin raised his eyebrows and said, "Someone, bring Lin Muyu to the west courtyard to take a bath and prepare a new set of Imperial Guard armor for him." "Yes, Your Majesty." Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, Chu Huaijin and the others walked over one after another and asked about Lin Muyu's injuries. He was covered in blood and looked too scary. No matter how they looked, he didn't look fine. "Ayu, are you sure you're okay?" Chu Huaijin frowned and said, "Look at you, it seems like you will die at any time. Don't force yourself. If anything happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to Yao." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu patted the broken breastplate on his chest and smiled, "My body is fine. All right, I sent a letter to Sister Chu Yao and asked her to warn you guys as soon as possible. Did you guys receive the news?" Qin Lei nodded his head. I did receive the news, but it was slightly late. Miss Chu Yao came to inform me on her own." "This, you tell her yourself." As he spoke, Qin Lei moved aside. Behind him was shockingly Chu Yao, who was dressed in a pure and clean spirit medicine department attire. Lin Muyu did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Older sister, why did you come by yourself? Isn't it possible to pass messages through Yushu?" Chu Yao's beautiful eyes were filled with reproach and worry as she said, "You're still talking about it? I didn't tame a second messenger bird, so I had to rush here myself. The spiritual medicine department didn't have any extra warhorses, so I spent a month's salary to buy one. I didn't expect you to be ahead of me." "Ha!" Lin Muyu was slightly embarrassed as she said, "There was no other way. I was worried that something would happen in Deer Garden, so I directly went to the Eagle Nest camp and mobilized 300 people to rush over as reinforcements." Not far away, Qin Jin said with an extremely dignified smile, "Lin Muyu, it's all thanks to the timely arrival of your 300 men from the Eagle Nest camp. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I and the other ministers would have been buried under the swords of the rebels from the House of Chivalry. Your Majesty has a flood of good fortune. Nothing will happen to you." After saying that, Lin Muyu almost had goosebumps. She thought to herself, when did she learn to say such flattering words? Qin Jin casually said a few words, then led the ministers to the central courtyard to discuss matters. Lin Muyu found the burning prairie sword and forcefully dug out the spirit stone of the 12,300-year-old dragon snake. Then, she pulled out the pear blossom spear from the dragon snake's body, washed it, and put it into her cosmos sack. Then, accompanied by Chu Yao, Chu Huaying, and Feng Jixing, she went to the western courtyard to take a bath. The few people who had gone through the battle all needed to take a bath and wash up. After all, each of them had a relatively special identity and status. It was a mistake for the people around the emperor to not be properly groomed. "Brother Feng, this burrowing dragon is dead. What about the white crane?" Lin Muyu asked as they walked. Feng Jixing muttered to himself, then said, "Qin Lei, Chu Huaying, and the other imperial guards surrounded the white crane. They used all kinds of weapons and even used fire attacks. Finally, they forced the white crane to escape. Now, the white crane's whereabouts are unknown." Oh, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. She said, "I didn't expect that we actually didn't catch a single leader this time. The white crane escaped, and so did Ji Yang and Li Qianxuan. I've been undercover at the headquarters of the House of Chivalry for so long, but in the end, I still couldn't find their assassination intentions. Is it as simple as changing the ruler of the empire? A cautious look flashed across Feng Jixing's face. He said, This matter. Let's report it to His Majesty later. The House of Chivalry has been making things difficult for us again and again. It's time for us to take action. In the West Court, the bathing spot was actually also a hot spring. This was because this villa was built on a natural hot spring. When Lin Muyu took off her armor, Chu Yao stood at the side. She had no intention of leaving. She looked at the crisscrossed wounds on Lin Muyu's body and frowned slightly. She said, Your body? Lin Muyu looked down and couldn't help but smile. She said, It's okay. I'll temper my skin a little and there won't be any scars left. It won't affect my beauty. Don't leave any hidden injuries or partial disabilities. Hurry up and take a bath. After that, come to me. I'll give you a massage. Massage? Lin Muyu's eyes widened. She couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. After taking a bath, she put on a tight-fitting shirt and went outside. Chu Yao was waiting there. She took out her silver needles and pouted. Lie down. Oh, Lin Muyu lay down according to her words. Chu Yao immediately inserted 7 or 8 silver needles into the acupoints. Then she opened her fingers. A faint green true energy was enshrouded between her fingers. It gently flowed through Lin Muyu's meridians. Suddenly, a refreshing and comfortable feeling spread throughout her body. The blockage in her meridians was slowly eliminated by Chu Yao. What kind of treatment is this? Lin Muyu was surprised. She said, Sister Chu Yao, in my hometown, there are many girls who are good at massaging, but there is no one who has such a brilliant technique. Chu Yao chuckled. She said, Idiot you, how is this a massage technique? This is the divine oracle hand recorded in the God of Medicine's tome. It's a superb technique that can cure internal diseases through the skin. As a member of the spiritual medicine department, I naturally can't just learn alchemy. The divine oracle hand is enough to make me an excellent medical officer. Haha, that's great, Lin Muyu said cheerfully. If I have my own army in the future, I'll definitely hire you as the chief medical officer with a high salary. Really? Chu Yao giggled. She said, I'm not only good at alchemy and the divine oracle hand. I've already mastered using fire and wind for your 4 elemental sword control. However, I'm still not good enough with lightning and water. In time, I'll not only be an excellent medical officer, but also an excellent general. Oh, you're quite open-minded. Lin Muyu couldn't help but tease. Chu Yao looked at Lin Muyu's strong muscles and finally blushed. She said, All right, put on your armor. Your body is basically fine now. Remember to apply medicine. At this moment, Chu Huaying and Feng Jixing had also returned from bathing. Chu Huaying had already put on his armor and was extraordinarily handsome. Chu Yao's older brother was indeed an astonishingly handsome man, but Feng Jixing was less handsome than Chu Huaying and more carefree. He clutched his chest and limped as he said, Damn, the dragon snake that the pale crane tamed almost crippled me. My cultivation at the 2nd heavenly stage is indeed far from enough. Big brother Feng has reached the 2nd heavenly stage? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. That's right. Feng Jixing raised his hand and waved. Instantly, his battle chi turned into a piece of armor that stopped around his arm. He said with a smile, Didn't you see the battle armor that I condensed when I was fighting the dragon snake? Oh, I didn't pay much attention, brat. Feng Jixing pursed his lips and said with a smile, That's right. This is all thanks to your dream of the extreme. Otherwise, Qin Lei and I wouldn't have reached the Heavenly King stage so quickly. Thank you so much. You're welcome. That's right. Dream of the extreme is a recipe that has been lost for a long time. Furthermore, only Medicine King-level medicine refiners can refine it. I'm afraid that even Miss Chu Yao might not be able to refine it. Brat, how many more skills do you have that you haven't shown us? Ha! Lin Muyu scratched her head awkwardly. Everyone has some secrets. Don't ask me about this. Besides, my medicine refinement skills are just some small tricks that aren't worth mentioning. Big Brother Feng, don't look into this. I won't harm you guys. And that's true. Feng Jixing lay heavily on the bed. His face was a little pale. Indeed, his injuries were the heaviest. After all, he was the one who had fought the dragon serpent for the longest time. The 12,300-year-old dragon serpent was equivalent to a level 90 Saint Venerable. He, who had just become a level 70 Heavenly Venerable, was able to contend with the dragon serpent without dying. This was already a sign of his strength. Chu Huaying looked up and said, "Yao, heal General Feng's injuries." His martial soul is the purple electric flame wolf. It's an idiot that's only good at attacking but not good at self-healing. It can't be compared to Yu's gourd. Feng Jixing grinned. Damn it. Whose martial soul are you calling an idiot? Your purple marten is the idiot. Chu Yao raised her hand. The purple marten martial soul emerged from her body and stood on her shoulder. She smiled and said, Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixing, if you say that the purple marten is an idiot, then I won't heal your injuries. Feng Jixing hurriedly changed his words. He smiled and said, I'm saying that Chu Huaying's purple marten is an idiot. Miss Chu Yao's purple marten is obviously very smart. Chu Yao giggled. She applied some medicine to Feng Jixing's wounds. Then, she used the Holy Oracle's hand to open up the blockages in his blood vessels and the injuries in his joints. She also bandaged Feng Jixing's wounds and put a splint on his broken arm. Speaking of which, Feng Jixing was indeed a tough guy. His arm had been broken for so long, but it was still hanging on his shoulder. He actually didn't cry out in pain at all. Not long after, an official walked in and said, Commander Feng Jixing, Lord Chu Huaying, and Lord Lin Muyu, His Majesty has summoned you to the central courtyard to discuss matters. Please follow me, yes. Chu Huaying turned around and smiled at Chu Yao. We'll be back soon. Is Yao waiting for us here? No, I'll wait for you outside the central courtyard. All right. Chapter 164. The main hall of the central garden was the most solemn and dignified hall in the entire Deer Garden Palace. At this moment, many officials had gathered, and the outside of the main hall was heavily protected by the Imperial Guards and Imperial Guards. After the assassination attempt by the House of Chivalry, Feng Jixing once again mobilized the nearby 10,000 Imperial Guards to protect the Emperor and Princess in Deer Garden. He did not dare to be careless again. The officials stood on both sides. Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, and Lin Muyu, who were dressed in white robes and armor, slowly entered the main hall in a triangular formation. They stepped on the blood-red carpet and walked all the way to the place closest to the Emperor, Qin Jin. They saluted in unison and said, Greetings, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu secretly rejoiced. After entering Lanyan City, she immediately became a soldier. This was a good thing. Even when she saw the Emperor, she only needed to salute and did not need to kneel. She was not like those civil officials who knelt at the drop of a hat. They had no moral integrity at all. Qin Jin smiled and nodded. At ease. Qin Yin stood beside her father and smiled at Lin Muyu. She stuck out her tongue when the officials lowered their heads and did not dare to look. As the most beautiful woman in the empire, she was still so beautiful even when she made a face. Chu Huaying could not help but laugh secretly. His shoulders trembled. Feng Jixing immediately turned to look at him and said, Old Chu, be more serious. Lin Muyu suppressed her smile and looked up at Qin Yin. She raised her eyebrows slightly. Instead, it was the princess who laughed. She did not look serious at all. Cough, cough. Qin Jin turned to look at his precious daughter, but he could not bear to blame her. He coughed and said, These traitors from the House of Chivalry actually dared to sneak attack Deer Garden in the middle of the night. This is simply outrageous. I have decided to launch a nationwide campaign to exterminate the traitors from the House of Chivalry. I will immediately send a letter to all the provincial governors. I want all the houses of chivalry in the country to be razed to the ground within a month. Your Majesty is wise. The officials cheered. Qin Jin heaved a sigh of relief and said, This time, the Saint Realm Ashen Crane actually participated in the rebellion. Fortunately, Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, Chu Huaying, and the other generals risked their lives to protect us. Otherwise, Her Highness Yin and I would have been killed. I understand. The person who contributed the most in this rescue mission is Lin Muyu. If he had not disobeyed Eagle Guard Commander Meng Fong's order and led 300 Eagle Guard warriors to reinforce us, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Looking at Lin Muyu, Qin Jin's eyes were filled with praise as he asked, Lin Muyu, what kind of reward do you want? Lin Muyu was startled and said, Your Majesty, this lowly general has not thought of a reward. The officials laughed loudly and Qin Jin laughed as well. You have saved us and the officials, and even risked your life to save Her Highness Yin from the belly of a dragon or snake. You have already established an unparalleled merit. If we do not reward you with something, it would seem that our Qin Empire does not have the heart to select talents and appoint people with ability. Speak, do you want wealth or an official title? Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and thought for a long time. She said, Your Majesty, I do not lack wealth. As for an official title, I have yet to fully understand the classification of the Empire's official titles, so it is not good for me to ask for anything. Whatever Your Majesty wants to give, this lowly general will gladly accept. Qin Jin couldn't help but laugh loudly. What a good Lin Muyu. Your personality is quite similar to that of Lord Huading Chu Chu. As he spoke, Qin Jin looked at Qin Yin and said, Xiao Yin, what do you think father should reward Lin Muyu with? Qin Yin blinked her eyes and said with a smile, You does not have the experience to lead troops, so it is not suitable for him to be given a high rank. In my opinion, bestow him the rank of Xiang Dragon General. Then, appoint him as the commander of the Eagle Nest Camp and give him the title of Zetian Palace's envoy. What does Imperial Father think? Good. Qin Jin smiled and said, Lin Muyu, do you accept Her Highness Yin's suggestion? Lin Muyu nodded. I will listen to Xiao Yin. Qin Jin laughed and said in a clear voice, Lin Muyu, listen to me. We will immediately promote you to Xiang Dragon General and give you the salary of a Xiang Dragon General. You will also be promoted to the commander of the Eagle Nest Camp. That brute Meng Fong will be sent to the border to be a Xiang Dragon General. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and bowed respectfully. Feng Jixing held back his laughter and said, Congratulations. There are a total of 3 commanders in the Royal Guards. 1 for the Dragon Guards, 1 for the Tiger Guards, and 1 for the Eagle Guards. You are now one of the 3 commanders. Your rank is the same as that old brat Chu Huaying. Chu Huaying was the commander of the Dragon Guards. At this point, 2/3 of the Royal Guards were under the control of Lin Muyu and Chu Huaying. After that, Qin Jin also rewarded Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, Chu Huaying, and the others. The rewards were in the form of Jining coins, fertile land, and so on. The 3 of them had relatively high ranks of nobility. Lin Muyu stood quietly at the side. In reality, her rank was not enough to attend such a hearing. After all, the Xiang Dragon General was only the 6th rank out of the 14 ranks of the Empire's military. There were still 5 ranks above her, namely Deputy General, Eastern Suppression General, State Protector General, State Suppression General, and Commander General. However, it was already not bad. After all, there were still 8 ranks below her, namely Brigadier General, Feather Colonel, Valiant Cavalry Colonel, Halberd Captain, Sergeant, and Sergeant. Moreover, this Xiang Dragon General was directly under the command of Lanyan City. The central government was much stronger than the local government. The real power in their hands was completely different. A small lieutenant in the central government could be treated as a general in the border army. This was not a rare occurrence. After the rewards, Qin Jin held the Desolation Sword in his hand and said, Now, let's discuss how to eradicate the rebellious forces of the House of Chivalry. State Protector General Yu Wenxie stepped out and cupped his fists. Your Majesty, the House of Chivalry's forces are very complicated in the Empire. They have their headquarters and branches everywhere. It is said that the House of Chivalry can be found in all the major cities in the Empire. The total number of members who are above the level of lone swordsman has already exceeded 3 million. Therefore, The eradication of the House of Chivalry requires long-term planning. Long-term planning? Qin Lei raised his eyebrows and said, General Yuwen, the henchman of the House of Chivalry almost killed your Majesty and Her Highness Yin. Do we still need long-term planning? Tell me, isn't the world the Qin family's world? If your Majesty says to eradicate them, then they must be eradicated. There is no room for negotiation. Yuwen Xie was stunned. Commander Qin Lei, that is not what I mean. I am only saying that this matter needs to be done slowly and cannot be rushed. Qin Jin said, Stop arguing. Feng Jixing, you are the most reliable and experienced in handling matters. Tell me, what do you think we should do? Yes, Your Majesty. Feng Jixing cupped his fists and a glint of light flashed across his eyes. It is very simple. First, eradicate the House of Chivalry within the Lanyan city of the imperial capital. Then, send out elite soldiers and generals to expand outwards. First, pacify the House of Chivalry in the few provinces in the north and maintain the stability of the north. After that, expand to the provinces in the south. No matter how deep the roots of the House of Chivalry are, we will definitely be able to uproot them. Qin Jin nodded and smiled. All right, then I will leave this matter to you to handle. Yes. Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, I have a presumptuous request. I hope that Your Majesty can agree to it. Speak. I want 2 people. Which 2? Qin Jin was stunned. Feng Jixing smiled. Lin Muyu and Chu Huaying. These 2 imperial guards are smart and capable. If I have their assistance in pacifying the House of Chivalry, I will be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. All right, approved. Thank you, Your Majesty. Feng Jixing was overjoyed. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said softly, If you want people so badly, why don't you ask whether Brother Chu Huaying and I are willing? Do you still have any human rights? Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said in a low voice, Rascal, Brother Feng needs your help now. If you don't help me, who else will? Besides, I, Feng Jixing, am on a mission to annihilate the House of Chivalry. Do you know how many people are waiting to see me make a fool of myself? If I fail, I might be impeached. I might not even be able to keep my position as the commander of the Imperial Guards. Lin Muyu snickered. That's perfect. You can join my mercenary group and be a 10-man squad leader. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Feng Jixing was speechless. Chu Huaying cupped his fists and snickered. It looks like the 2 of you are not ordinary people. Feng Jixing was speechless. Lin Muyu was speechless. After the meeting, the emperor announced that the meeting was dismissed and that they would return to Lanyan City in the afternoon. The officials dispersed. Lin Muyu was about to leave when an attendant suddenly walked up to her and said with a smile, Lady Lin Muyu, His Majesty invites you to the rear hall to speak. Lin Muyu followed him. When she arrived at the rear hall, Qin Jin and Qin Yin were both there. Qin Yin was still dressed like a princess, but Qin Jin had taken off his dragon robe and was dressed in plain clothes. He said with a smile, Lin Muyu, do you know why I have summoned you here? I don't know. Lin Muyu answered honestly. Qin Jin smiled. I heard that you lost your memory when you were in Silver Fir City. You don't remember who you are or who your family is. What about now? Do you still remember? Lin Muyu was taken aback. She replied, I still don't remember. Good. Qin Jin waved his sleeves and said with a smile, I want to adopt you as my son. How about it? Adopted son? Lin Muyu was stunned. Dragons seeking forest. Before dawn, the mountain was cold and cheerless. Accompanied by rustling sounds, an old man emerged from a nameless cave. His face was covered in dirt, and he carried a bamboo basket on his back. The basket was filled with rare herbs. He had a smug look on his face as he chuckled. I've even found a grade 8 herb. Let's see if that brat you still dares to mock me, Chu, for not knowing anything about medicine. He strode as if he was flying, heading straight for Deer Cry Park. At this moment, the sound of hooves could be heard from the foot of the mountain. A black warhorse was galloping on the mountain path with its scorching breath. On the warhorse, an old man was holding an iron staff in his hand. His entire body was covered in blood, and his white hair and beard were stained with blood. Without a doubt, this blood belonged to the royal guards and royal army. Song Baihe only had less than 30% of his fighting aura left in his body. His eyes were a little dazed, and his face was full of hatred. He muttered to himself, "I didn't expect Qin Lei to have stepped into the second level of the heavenly realm. Damn Qin Lei, damn God-binding chains. If it wasn't for him, I'm afraid I would have already succeeded. It's just a pity that my dragon snake is gone just like that." However, at this moment, a scorching hot domain suddenly appeared in the air. Song Baihe raised his head abruptly and saw a huge flaming palm descending from the sky. The powerful pressure of the Saint Realm descended, and at the same time, Chu Chu's dignified voice could be heard. "Song Baihe, you could have taken the road to heaven, but you chose to barge into the doorless hell." Chapter 165. Adopted Son? Lin Muyu looked at Qin Jin in bewilderment. Qin Jin smiled faintly. "Actually, the real reason is that you saved Xiao Yin twice, so we have decided to let Xiao Yin recognize you as her sworn brother. However, if you are unwilling, then forget it." Qin Yin stood in front of Lin Muyu, her hands crossed in front of her. Her beautiful eyes shone with hope, yet she did not dare to look at Lin Muyu. By the time Qin Jin finished speaking, her pretty face was already completely red. Lin Muyu was startled, but did not think too much about it. She smiled and said, "Then let's do it. Having a younger sister like Her Highness Yin is my life's greatest wish." "Is that so?" Qin Jin could not help but smile. "Then from now on, you are my, Qin Jin's, adopted son, and a member of the Qin family. Are you willing to change your surname to Qin? Can I not change it?" Lin Muyu asked. Qin Jin laughed heartily. "Many thanks to your majesty for granting my wish." Qin Jin was clearly in a good mood. He placed his palm on Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, You are a talent. From now on, you will be a member of the family. A member of the Qin family who does not share the same surname will bring you courage and glory. However, you must also pledge your loyalty and oath to the family. Go, Xiao Yin will help you take the oath to join the family. After that, I will have someone write your name into the Qin family's genealogy book." From the side, Qin Yin walked over with a smile and reached out to hold Lin Muyu's hand. When their fingers interlocked, the warmth from Qin Yin's little hand caused Lin Muyu to be a little dazed. Qin Yin's face was also bright red as she said, I will have to call you Big Brother from now on, and then, Big Brother come with me." "All right." In a corner of the rear hall, the memorial tablets of the family's ancestors were enshrined. In the most conspicuous position, there was a memorial tablet with the words, "Founding Emperor Qin Yi's Memorial Tablet," written on it. Lin Muyu couldn't help feeling a little surprised. She asked, "Xiao Yin Qin, how many years has it been since he passed away?" Qin Yin was stunned and said, "Qin Yi was our ancestor and the first master of the Qin Empire to step into the divine state. With his divine state strength and military strategy, he united the 11 countries on the mainland that had been at war for many years and created the prosperity of the Qin Empire. It is said that he retired after the founding of the empire and then went on a spiritual journey for thousands of years, so here is his memorial tablet." "So that's how it is." Lin Muyu couldn't help but recall the scene when she transmigrated to this dimension. She saw Qin Yi leading hundreds of immortal state and sanctuary powerhouses to fight the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Qin Yi was indeed dead at that time. He was devoured by the power of the 7 glorious stars transformation. Thinking about it, this memorial tablet was indeed suitable to worship. "All right, Big Brother kneel properly." Qin Yin and Lin Muyu knelt together in front of the memorial tablet of the empire's ancestors. The smile on her face disappeared and she said very seriously, "The family has 32 words, which is also the foundation and family rule for the Qin family to be able to dominate the mainland. I say one sentence, and Big Brother you will say one sentence after Xiao Yin, okay?" Lin Muyu nodded lightly. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and scattered the princess cloak behind her. Her beautiful eyes looked at the memorial tablets one after another, yearning and confusion in her eyes. Then, she said one word at a time, calm and unperturbed, no matter when or where, fearless in the face of danger and indifferent to favor or disgrace, revenge must be taken. A gentleman is modest, but if there is an enemy, he must take revenge, rather die than submit. Life and death are up to the heavens. A proud and unyielding character will never live without purpose. Be open-minded like a valley, like flowing water and floating clouds, supercilious and caring for the world. A promise is worth its weight in gold. A promise must be kept, words must be spoken cautiously, and words must be said. Take the lead, valiant in battle, leading the charge and breaking through enemy lines. Be courteous to the wise, holding a high position, being humble and able to convince people with virtue, unswervingly loyal, wholeheartedly serving the country, treading on blades and drinking blood without regrets. 32 words of proverb were, in fact, keep calm, seek revenge, rather die than surrender, be open-minded, keep your word, take the lead, be courteous, and be loyal. Lin Muyu carefully thought about these 32 words. There had to be a reason why the Qin family was able to survive for so long. These 32 words indeed represented a kind of spirit. In other words, these 32 words represented a kind of civilization. It was just that when it was put into practice, it had gone astray. That was why there was such unreasonable things as the concubine system. After saying this, Qin Yin stood up, held Lin Muyu's shoulder, and said with a smile, "Big brother you, from now on, you are a member of our Qin family. Always remember the family's teachings." "Yes, I will." Lin Muyu nodded. These 32 words were indeed worthy of being his code of conduct. Moreover, he would carry them out to the letter. This was his attitude. Qin Jin watched all of this from the back, and said with a smile, "All right, since you is now a member of our family, then, why don't you stay for breakfast?" "Yes, your majesty." Qin Jin was immediately displeased and said, "Since we have already recognized you as my godson, why don't you change the way you address me?" Lin Muyu was stunned, and then felt that it was a little awkward, so she said, What should I call you?" Qin Yin burst into laughter. "Call me father after me." Lin Muyu. In the end, he still called him father, like Qin Yin, which made Qin Jin smile happily. His face was full of wrinkles, and this emperor was only close to 50 years old, but his face was already showing signs of age. Firstly, it had to do with his insufficient cultivation, and secondly, it was probably because he had been tormented to this extent by the affairs of this huge empire. Although Qin Jin was weak, he was definitely not a fatuous emperor, so it wasn't like she had recognized a traitor as her father, right? Lin Muyu thought to herself. Breakfast couldn't be considered too sumptuous, and there were only a few side dishes. However, after a busy night, Lin Muyu's stomach was already rumbling with hunger. She picked up the beef buns from the bowl and ate them in big bites, causing Qin Yin and Qin Jin to chuckle at the side. Qin Jin pushed the plate of beef buns in front of Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Eat more if you like it. When we return to Lanyan City, Father will personally cook for you and make beef buns from the White Cloud Tavern. I guarantee that they will be even better than the ones made by the head chef of the White Cloud Tavern." Lin Muyu was stunned. "Father, you know how to cook?" Qin Yin giggled. Don't you know that father is known for having two talents? The first is poetry and painting, and the second is culinary skills. Let me tell you, even the best imperial chef in Zetian Palace can't cook as well as father. Brother you have to come back to Zetian Palace often, or else you won't have a chance to taste father's cooking. All right. He was still trembling with fear and trepidation. As the saying went, being in the emperor's company was like being with a tiger. Was the current Qin Jin still the same tiger-like emperor? Or was he his adoptive father now? Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs? Lin Muyu didn't understand, and she didn't understand. She would just take it one step at a time. Regardless of whether it was good or bad now, at least she had a home in this world. With a father like Qin Jin who was skilled in culinary skills and poetry, and a younger sister like Qin Yin who was sometimes unruly and sometimes considerate, it seemed like it wasn't bad at all. After a short rest in the morning, she followed the team back to Lanyan City in the afternoon. In Zetian Palace, during an afternoon meeting with the officials, Qin Jin publicly announced that he would recognize Lin Muyu as his adopted son. This instantly caused a huge commotion, and the officials were all stunned. It seemed like the Qin family hadn't had an emperor recognize an outsider as his adopted son for many years. The current Lin Muyu was already considered a proud son who was doted on by everyone. They really didn't know where this brat got his luck from. Congratulations, Lord Lin Muyu. Congratulations, General. Congratulations, Lord, on becoming a member of the family. One by one, the officials congratulated Lin Muyu, and at the same time, he saw the person he didn't want to see the most. Xing Yifan had also arrived, and he was still in good spirits. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, General Lin Muyu, on becoming His Majesty's adopted son. This is truly worthy of celebration. You're too kind, Divine Marquis. Now that General is His Majesty's adopted son, your future is bright. In the future, please take care of a small marquis like me." Xing Yifan squinted his eyes and said with a smile. Lin Muyu frowned and said with a smile, "Divine Marquis, you're too polite. You're the cornerstone of the empire. I'm just a boorish fellow." Pet. Xing Yifan sneered and walked away. He put on a "you're right" look. Feng Jixing frowned as he looked at Xing Yifan's back. He patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, To be honest, I'm really envious of you. I've served His Majesty for so many years, but I've never had such a rare encounter. You're the first adopted son of His Majesty, and the Qin family has never accepted descendants with other surnames. You can be considered a pioneer." "Big Brother Feng, are you really congratulating me?" Lin Muyu asked in a low voice. Feng Jixing moved closer and also lowered his voice. He smiled and said, "I don't know why His Majesty accepted you as his adopted son, but at least it shows that he values your strength. That's enough." Lin Muyu was taken aback. Was he just making use of her? No matter whether it was using me or being sincere, Lin Muyu had his own judgment. At least he could confirm that Qin Yin really liked him. That was enough. He could not protect the empire, but at least he could protect Qin Yin. At this moment, an attendant's voice suddenly came from outside the hall. "Lord Chu Chu requests an audience." Everyone was stunned and quickly separated into two sides. Chu Chu strode into the hall with a black bundle in his hand. He had a faint smile on his face as he arrived at the bottom of the steps. He cupped his fists and said, "This old man, Chu Chu, came late to the rescue. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." Qin Jin was a virtuous monarch. He smiled and said, "Chu Chu, you don't have to be like this. It's good that you're back. All right, did you pick the herbs you wanted?" "I did." Chu Chu's lips curled up. He smiled and said, "Moreover, I had an unexpected harvest that I wanted to present to Your Majesty." "Oh, what is it?" Qin Jin asked with a smile. Chu Chu immediately knelt on one knee and put down the bundle in his hand. He opened it layer by layer. When he opened the last layer, it was a bloody head. Moreover, the head's beard and hair were all white and stained with blood. Even its eyes were wide open, as if it had died with a grievance. Chu Chu turned around and looked at Xing Yifan provocatively. He then cupped his fists and said, "This old man encountered that old thief, Ashen Crane, when I was descending the mountain. I took care of him and presented his dog's head to Your Majesty." Qin Jin was overjoyed. Good. Chu has already made a great contribution. In an instant, Xing Yifan's face turned extremely pale and ugly. Chapter 166. After the discussion, they settled on the details of the expedition against the House of Chivalry. Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Chu Huayin busied themselves with gathering soldiers, weapons, and rations. As the emperor's godson, Lin Muyu did not linger in the Zetian Palace hall for long. She had long since gone to Eagle Nest Mountain to gather the troops. Very soon, only Qin Jin, Qin Yin, and her father, as well as Qin Lei, who was standing guard outside the door, were left in the large palace hall. "Imperial father." Qin Yin frowned slightly and asked in annoyance, Since you have adopted Big Brother Yu, why don't you give him a title? An adopted son who doesn't even have a title. Don't you think this is unfair to him? Title? Qin Jin slowly picked up a cup of tea and blew on it, but he did not drink it. He said, Xiao Yin, Imperial Father only has you as his only child. If I were to give you a title, what title do you think he should be given? Should he be given the title of king? There are only 2 people in the empire who have been given the title of king. One is the Prince of Jinan, Qin Yi, and the other is the Prince of Yuning, Qin Lian. They are both Imperial Father's brothers. If I were to confer the title of king on you, I would be going against the ancestors' rule, which states that outsiders cannot be conferred the title of king. Furthermore, even though Yu is brave and loyal, can you guarantee that he will not change in the future? Qin Yin was stunned. Her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Imperial Father, are you worried that, Big Brother, you will fight with Xiao Yin for the throne? His green gourd martial spirit is only a 10th grade martial spirit, but it is so strong that it can contend against the Qin family's god-binding chains. Moreover, he is proficient in the art of alchemy, and it is said that he has the ability to refine medicine close to the level of an alchemy god. Moreover, you can defeat opponents with a higher cultivation base than him. Zhao Jin, Ouyang Qiu, Zhen Fang, and the others have all been defeated by him. Some people claim that Yu uses an extremely evil and domineering mysterious power, a power that no one has ever heard of before. Qin Jin then sighed softly and said, People will always change. No matter how nice he is to you now, it's only because of your talent and beauty. What do you think? Qin Yin stood there in a daze. After a while she said, If I don't say any more. Qin Jin waved his hand and said gently, Xiao Yin, be good. Don't make things difficult for Imperial Father. The matter of Lin Muyu being bestowed the title of king will end here. Don't mention it again. Even if he joins the Qin family, someone else's blood flows in his veins. As long as he has outstanding military achievements, Imperial Father can continue to promote him. It doesn't matter even if he becomes the Empire's marshal, but he will never be bestowed the title of king. Yes, Imperial Father, Qin Yin bit her red lips. A trace of loneliness flashed through her eyes. The power of an emperor was something she could not understand. Eagle Nest Mountain. The camp was in chaos. When Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Xiahou Sang, and the others to the Eagle Nest camp, the former commander Meng Fong was trembling as he held a black metal object. He said respectfully, My lord, this is the Eagle Nest camp's tiger seal. Please take good care of it. Commander, I didn't mean to replace you, I just. Lin Muyu wanted to comfort him, but she didn't know where to start. Meng Fong shook his head and smiled. No, this matter has nothing to do with anyone else. I was blind to actually stop you from bringing troops to reinforce Deer Cry Park. It was I, Meng Fong, who was muddle-headed. But I will leave the mountain immediately. As for the Eagle Nest camp, I hope that Lady Lin Muyu can take good care of it. This is the hard work of my brothers and I for many years, Lin Muyu smiled. Don't worry, I will. Meng Fong led his warhorse and went down the mountain alone to the royal army to receive his orders. A dignified commander of a camp leaving alone like this did indeed seem very lonely. After watching Meng Fong leave, Lin Muyu turned to the group of royal guards and said, All right, let's have a meeting. Yes, my lord. Eagle Nest Mountain had a total of nearly 700 soldiers under her control. This gave Lin Muyu a sense of accomplishment that she had never felt before. God damn it, she was finally a person who held the power to decide life and death in her hands. A group of squad leaders and corporals of the royal guards stood on both sides. 2 of them were very eye-catching, one was Gong Sun and the other was Su Gung. Because these 2 were former subordinates of the Divine Marquis residence, they were still members of the Divine Marquis residence. However, their presence in the Eagle Nest camp made people feel like they were out of place. Lin Muyu was someone who couldn't tolerate having a single grain of sand in her eyes. She took out a document and smiled. Lord Gong Sun, Lord Su Gung, I have good news here. His Majesty has agreed to my order to promote the 2 of you to Centurions of the Divine Might Battalion. You can now go down the mountain and report to the Divine Might Battalion. What? Gong Sun's face was full of shock. We're going to the Divine Might Battalion? Lin Muyu, what's the meaning of this? Don't forget how long you've been in the Eagle Nest camp. Are you trying to kick us out the moment you arrive? Lin Muyu smiled. This document has the golden seal of the Emperor's imperial seal on it. Anyone who resists will be executed. Men, escort Su Gung and Gong Sun down the mountain and erase their names from the Eagle Nest camp's roster. Now that Lin Muyu was in charge of the Tiger Tally of the Eagle Nest camp, she had a clear objective. She wanted to eliminate the opposing forces and make the Eagle Nest camp completely under her control. A few minutes later, Gong Sun and Su Gung also left the mountain with a simple salute. Lin Muyu immediately reorganized the Eagle Nest camp and promoted Wei Chou to deputy commander. She also promoted 4 centurions, each of whom would lead a team of 100 men. After everything was reorganized, the drums were sounded and everyone descended the mountain. More than 600 cavalrymen descended the mountain. The sound of the horses' hooves was deafening. When they arrived at the foot of the mountain, they could already see a large number of imperial guards waiting there from afar. They were the 5,000 men that Feng Jixing had gathered. In addition, there were also the 400 imperial guards that Chu Huaying had led. In total, there were more than 6,000 soldiers. They marched majestically towards the House of Chivalry's headquarters in the capital. Although they had been delayed for a long time, it was still not too late to attack the headquarters now. After marching for half a day, they arrived at the foot of the mountain at dusk. From afar, the loose swordsmen on the mountainside had already lit a bonfire. It seemed that they had not given up on the headquarters yet. There were about 100 men guarding the entrance of the mountain. Attack the mountain! Feng Jixing commanded and led the cavalrymen to charge forward. As they neared the entrance of the mountain, he brandished his saber and slashed out a powerful saber energy. Boom! The simple and crude entrance of the mountain was immediately split into 2. More than 2,000 imperial guards charged forward and slashed the 100 or so loose swordsmen into a mess. Let's go up as well. Lin Muyu waved her hand, and Wei Chou and the others immediately led the Eagle Nest Battalion to charge forward. They arrived ahead of the imperial guards and killed their way to the headquarters of the House of Chivalry. Outside the headquarters, there were cries of anguish. Many of the loose swordsmen who had been injured during the operation last night were currently recuperating. How could they withstand the combined attack of the Imperial Guards and Imperial Guards? Many of them knelt down and shouted at Lin Muyu, "Lin Yen, Master Game Envoy, please let us go. We don't know anything, we just want to eat." Chu Huaying frowned and asked, "What should we do with these loose swordsmen? Should we take them in and convert them into the Imperial Guards?" Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and said proudly, "The warriors of the Imperial Guards are untainted by even a speck of dust. These scoundrels whose hands are stained with the blood of the commoners are not fit to join the Imperial Guards. Take them all down and put them into the border guards." Lin Muyu dismounted and stepped into the headquarters. She asked, "Where are Ji Yang and Li Qianshuan?" A silver venerable one had lost an arm. He panted heavily and said, "Envoy de Game Envoy and Envoy Li Yu left with their men at dawn today. We don't know where they are now." Some silver venerable ones and bronze venerable ones who can still move also left with them. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "If I'm not mistaken, the jewels on the mountain were also taken away, right?" "They took a small portion. There are still a lot of them on the mountain that they couldn't take away in time." "Is that so? Someone, come and take inventory of the treasures in the headquarters." "Yes, Commander." Wei Chou searched for a while and ran back happily. He smiled and said, "Commander, there is a secret room under the headquarters. There are many treasures hidden in it. Do you want to take a look, sir?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Chu Huaying and Feng Jixing. "Let's go and take a look together?" But Lin Muyu walked in front with a torch in her hand. She was shocked when she entered the secret chamber. The House of Chivalry's headquarters had more gold hub coins than the Tianjing mercenary group. There were more than 100 boxes of gold hub coins, but all the diamond coins had been taken away. Many of the boxes that stored the gold hub coins had been smashed, and there were traces of people grabbing gold hub coins. Jianghu and the others had left in a hurry and were afraid of being chased, so they didn't take too many gold hub coins with them. Otherwise, with Ji Yang's greed, he would have taken all the gold here. Huh? Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. The House of Chivalry is really rich. Chu Huaying said excitedly. Look over there, there's an armory. Lin Muyu quickly flew over. There was indeed a large pile of superior-grade weapons there. There were spears, swords, axes, and so on. However, the profound-grade and spirit-grade weapons had been taken away by Jianghu and his men. However, it was enough. These weapons could be used to equip ordinary soldiers. Chu Huaying opened a simple wooden box and smiled. I didn't expect Jianghu to know about antiques and jade artifacts. This old man. There were jade bracelets, rings, necklaces, and other accessories in the box. There were also a few scrolls of calligraphy and paintings. It was obvious that they were paintings by famous people. However, the calligraphy in this world was something Lin Muyu couldn't understand. She opened one of the scrolls and glanced at it. It was really King Ugly. Feng Jixing suddenly picked up a pure black thumb ring from the box. He smiled and said, What material is this thumb ring made of? It doesn't look like jade, and it looks very hard. As he spoke, he placed the thumb ring on the table, pulled out his saber, and slashed at it. With a dang sound, sparks flew in all directions. The saber was deflected, but the thumb ring was not damaged at all. Its surface was still glowing. At this moment, in Lin Muyu's Hai, Lulu's voice sounded. Brother, this is the legendary Qingming stone. It's a type of spiritual jade and one of the hardest stones. Brother, you can refine the beast soul into this Qingming stone thumb ring. Then, you can refine this thumb ring into a spiritual artifact. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She smiled and said, Brother Feng, since this thumb ring is so hard, why don't you give it to me? Feng Jixing grabbed a handful of gold coins and stuffed them into his pocket. When he was almost stuffed to the brim, he happily said, All right. The thumb ring is yours and the Jin coins are mine. Damn, there are too many Jin coins here. Can I take some more? Chu Huaying looked at him contemptuously. His meaning was self-evident. You still have the nerve to be the commander of the Imperial Guards? Chapter 167. Starlight shone on the mountain ridges. The Imperial Guards and Imperial Guards set up camp around the main altar to rest for the night. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Chu Huaying sat on a huge rock at the back of the mountain, drinking wine. Beside them, Wei Qiu had set up a bonfire and was roasting a leg of lamb. These were the spoils of war that they had plundered. It was evident how extravagant and decadent Jianghu and Li Qianxuan's daily lives were. Commander! A 1,000-man commander rode to the giant rock and cupped his fists. We have gathered all the maids of the headquarters of the House of Chivalry. There are a total of 724 of them. How should we deal with them? Feng Jixing asked, How should we deal with them according to the laws of the Empire? The 1,000-man commander smiled. According to the laws of the Empire, these maids have served the rebels for a long time and have become unclean. They should be sent to the nursery to be trained as concubines and sent to the military camps. Lin Muyu frowned and asked, Is there no other way? I don't know. Lin Muyu looked up at Feng Jixing and said, Brother Feng, these maids were originally kidnapped from the nearby villages. They had no choice but to serve the rangers. Brother, you know what kind of place the nursery is. I think, why don't we dismiss these maids? If we send them to the nursery, it's like sending them from one hell of a fire to another. Feng Jixing thought for a while and said, You don't have to say anything. I know what to do. As he spoke, Feng Jixing ordered, General Zhao, take out a portion of the Jinin coins we seized and distribute it to these maids. 50 gold coins each. Then ask them one by one. If their families are still alive, send an Imperial Guard to escort them home. If their families are gone, bring them back to the capital and hand them over to the ICBC. At least, they can find a job as a maid. At least they won't lose their freedom and dignity. The 1,000-man commander surnamed Zhao cupped his fists and had a look of joy on his face. Commander is wise. On behalf of these maidservants, I thank Commander for your grace of rebirth. Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, Don't be a busybody. Hurry up and get to work. Tell those Imperial Army brothers to remember to come back. If anyone dares to not come back, I will capture them one by one and bring them back. Huh, Lord Commander, you must be joking. How could our people not return? This subordinate will do it right away. Lin Muyu raised her wine pot and gently touched Feng Jixing's wine pot. She said in a deep voice, Brother Feng, thank you. Feng Jixing let out a soft sigh and said with a smile, Actually, when you smashed up the nurturing hall last time, Big Brother Feng was clearly secretly cheering for you. Perhaps it was also because of your courage that I was able to do such a thing. Feng Jixing has always been cautious and conscientious in this small half of his life, not daring to overstep his boundaries. It was only until I met you that I was able to do so many crazy things. Is that so? Lin Muyu leaned on the withered short pine behind her and tilted her head back to drink a mouthful of wine. She smiled and said, In my hometown, there is an old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. You are the commander of the Imperial Army and represent the majesty of the Emperor. There will always be injustice in this world and you naturally cannot turn a blind eye to it. You are the person who wants to change this world. Feng Jixing was startled and a trace of fanaticism appeared in his cold eyes. In the blink of an eye, this trace of fanaticism disappeared without a trace. He smiled and said, Smelly brat, what are you saying? We are soldiers and obeying orders is our responsibility. In the future, don't say such crazy things to Big Brother. Otherwise I, Feng Jixing, may become the second Mad General Lin Muyu. Mad General? Lin Muyu was startled and said, Who is slandering me like that? Feng Jixing laughed and said, Because of Little Bean Sprout, you publicly challenged the Divine Marquis residence. On the day of weapon refinement, you publicly cut off one of the arms of the #1 instructor, Zhao Jin. Because of the nurturing hall, you dared to challenge His Majesty. In the end, you were exiled to the Tower of Babel and you actually came back alive. Don't you think that what you did in Lanyan City was not arrogant enough? Don't say that you don't know this title has long been circulating in the military camp of Lanyan City. Mad General Lin Muyu, this title is indeed very suitable for you. Lin Muyu angrily hugged the wine pot in her arms and said, What are you saying? I only did what I should do. Brother Chu Huayin, you judge who is right between me and Brother Feng. Chu Huayin was using a long sword to pick up a piece of fragrant mutton. He said leisurely, Feng Jixing's position is higher than yours. I think what Feng Jixing said is very reasonable. Lin Muyu was speechless for a moment. The three of them ate the meat together. Not long after, they actually finished a whole fat leg of mutton. They were indeed martial artists. This kind of appetite was not something that ordinary people could have. Lin Muyu burped and suddenly thought of something. She smiled and asked, Brother Feng, this mountain where the headquarters is located has been developed. Not far from here, there is another North Mountain. It was originally occupied by a mercenary group. What do you plan to do with these two mountains? Feng Jixing muttered, This place is quite far from the capital. It is a full 6 hours of riding distance. If we don't deal with it properly, I'm afraid it will be occupied by the House of Chivalry again. Or perhaps it will be occupied by other wandering mercenaries. It will be disadvantageous to the surrounding people. Sigh, perhaps we should hand it over to the local government to deal with it? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, If the local government's army was really that useful, I'm afraid they wouldn't allow these mercenaries and rangers to burn, kill, and loot everywhere without anyone clearing them up. Then what do you think we should do? Feng Jixing was at his wit's end. Lin Muyu smiled, Why don't you give me this mountain? Feng Jixing was shocked. Brat, what do you want this mountain for? Are you going to keep a concubine? If that's the case, I'll secretly tell Her Highness Yin and Princess Shi. Damn, Brother Feng, what kind of person do you think I am? Lin Muyu's heart was moved by his words, but she still showed a loyal and courageous look and said, I want to cultivate an army here. An army that is enough to deter the surrounding mercenaries and protect the local people. Feng Jisheng smiled and laid on the giant rock. He looked at the starry sky and said, I heard that the mercenary guild in Lanyan City has recently registered a new mercenary group called Longdan Army Camp. The leader's name is Lin Muyu. Could it be you? Ha, Brother Feng's news is quite fast. Nonsense, I'm the commander of the Imperial Guard. I know everything that happens in the Imperial capital. Tell me, why did you create this Longdan Army Camp? I need my own power. Lin Muyu clenched her fist and said with a cold look in her eyes, I still remember how Xing Yifan aggressively led the Divine Might Battalion to attack the Holy Temple. If I had a strong army, why would I be afraid of Xing Yifan? Brother Feng, to be honest, I have doubts about the Imperial Army's combat power. If this continues, are we going to rely solely on the Imperial Guard to protect Lanyan City and Shaoyin? Feng Jisheng was stunned. He was silent for a few seconds and said, I only have one question for you. Did you create the Longdan Army Camp for the throne or for Shaoyin? Feng Jisheng was very straightforward. Lin Muyu was also stunned and said without hesitation, I've never coveted the throne and I have no interest in it. I created the Longdan Army Camp because I'm worried that our current power can't protect everything that's good now. I created the Longdan Army Camp in the hope that one day, I can rely on my own power to protect the people I care about. Ha, I see, Feng Jisheng sighed and said with a smile, that's good. Brother Feng, you don't have to worry too much. Since the Longdan Army Camp is a brother legion of the Imperial Guard, I will definitely close one eye to the existence of the Longdan Army Camp. It's up to you to build the Longdan Army Camp to be strong. Lin Muyu nodded and asked, Brother Feng, you scared me just now. Do you think I'm the kind of person who wants to fight for the throne? You don't look like it. Feng Jisheng took a deep look at him with a playful look in his eyes and said with a smile, but if you really want to fight for the throne, you will be the most terrible enemy of the Qin Empire because you have both civil and military skills. Lin Muyu couldn't help but gasp. Feng Jisheng laughed and patted him on the shoulder intimately, saying, Silly boy, you are my brother. Feng Jisheng, will never hurt you and will never be afraid of you. Come on, drink this wine and go back to sleep early. To be honest, I'm looking forward to what kind of powerful existence your Longdan Army Camp will eventually become. Maybe, as you said, the military system of the Qin Empire has been fixed for too long and has lost the combat power that it should have. Even the Imperial Guard is not as good as before. We really need some fresh blood. Lin Muyu raised his head and drank a mouthful of strong wine. The spicy taste almost made him cry. Lin Muyu wiped his mouth and looked at the stars in the sky. He was thinking that if there were really emperor stars and general stars among the stars in the sky, then where was the one that belonged to him? Was it the emperor star or the general star? Perhaps he had never thought about becoming an emperor. But if he didn't become an emperor, could he change all the injustice and barbarism of the shattered cauldron world with his own strength? It was difficult. The world was so difficult, but he had to try. Forget it, he should go back to Lanyan City tomorrow to check on the situation of the Longdan Army Camp. He didn't know how many people Luo Yu had recruited. Anyway, he had already taken this mountain from Feng Jisheng. It would be a good base for the Longdan Army Camp in the future. This mountain didn't even have a name, but it was very wide. The barracks had been built and could accommodate tens of thousands of troops. It was the best choice for the Longdan Army Camp. Feng Jisheng was lying on a huge rock, seemingly drunk, as he looked at the sky with a pair of drowsy eyes. He tilted his head to look at Lin Muyu and Chu Huayin and couldn't help but smile. When he looked at the sky again, a shooting star streaked across the sky. He was slightly stunned, and his eyes seemed to become more serious. Chapter 168. The next day, Lin Muyu woke up early in the morning. She was wearing the armor of a gold star training partner from the Holy Sanctum, which was also embedded with a buoyancy gem. The biggest difference between this outfit and her previous one was the dark blue underwear underneath the armor. This was the uniform of the high-ranking generals of the empire. The dark blue fabric was very hard, and there were 2 military insignia embedded on the collar. Behind the golden purple flower was a golden 6-pointed star, representing the rank of a chiliarch. Feng Jixing's military insignia was a golden purple flower with 3 golden 6-pointed stars behind it. Just like the strict ranking system, chiliarchs had 1 star, captaincy had 2 stars, and commanders had 3 stars. As for the imperial marshal, no one knew. Along the way, maids walked hand in hand, some with tears on their faces. When Lin Muyu, who was wearing the Holy Sanctum's battle robe, rode his horse slowly past, one of the maids recognized him and called out softly, "Are you Lord Lin Yen, game envoy?" Lin Muyu turned around with a warm smile on her face. "Lin Yen is not my real identity. I am Lin Muyu from the Holy Sanctum of the Empire, the commander of the Eagle Nest Battalion of the Imperial Guards. I came to the headquarters of the House of Chivalry just to get rid of it." The maid was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "Thank you, Lord Lin Muyu. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we would still be living in humiliation for the rest of our lives." "You're welcome. This is what a soldier of the Empire should do." Lin Muyu cupped his fists and rode away. Chu Huaying grabbed the reins and followed her. He smiled and said, "I'm afraid not every soldier of the Empire is like you think." Lin Muyu grinned. "I know." In the afternoon, they arrived at Lanyan City. Wei Chou led the people of Eagle Nest camp up the mountain and returned to the camp, while Lin Muyu entered Lanyan City alone. When she arrived at the Mercenary Union, it was already afternoon. The place had almost become a tavern. Many warriors reeking of alcohol were waiting here to accept tasks, and many customers came and went with solemn faces. When Lin Muyu appeared in the Holy Temple's battle robe, she immediately attracted a lot of attention. A staff member with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks walked over and smiled. "My lady, may I know what mission you have come to our mercenary union for? Escort or murder and plunder?" Lin Muyu said lightly, "I won't kill anyone. I just want to ask, is there anyone from the Longdan Army Camp mercenary group here?" Yes. "Ha, idiots from the Longdan Army Camp. Come here, someone is looking for you." At this time, a bearded man in the corner put down the wine pot, grabbed the battle axe on the table, and said with a smile, "Who is looking for Grandpa?" He wore a mercenary emblem on his chest, which was the emblem of the Longdan Army Camp. It was the emblem that Luo Yu had redesigned and changed. It was a dragon-shaped design with the 3 Chinese characters of the Longdan Army Camp at the back. Note, please don't ask me why they used Chinese characters. My explanation is that the Chinese culture is broad and profound, and its domineering aura penetrated the plane and taught this group of mortals from the Shattered Cauldron realm. The burly man was obviously drunk. He swayed in front of Lin Muyu with his battle axe, raised his eyebrows, and said, "Who are you, and why are you looking for me?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a little speechless. She asked, "Are you from the Longdan Army Camp? If you are, bring me to see your deputy commander, Luo Yu." You want to see Lord Luo Yu? Why don't you ask me about this axe first?" The drunkard's vision was blurry. How could he tell that Lin Muyu was wearing the armor of a high-ranking general of the Empire? He swung the axe at her head. Lin Muyu was stunned. What kind of person was this? However, this burly man's vital energy was very thick, and he seemed to be at the first level of the Earth realm. He had the strength, but his luck was a little lacking. No, strictly speaking, his alcohol tolerance was a little lacking. This was a wine dregs. A large group of people surrounded them to watch the fight, and all of them had their eyes wide open. Lin Muyu was furious, and she turned around and took 2 steps back. She opened her palm lightly, and battle energy surrounded every finger. With a pa sound, she grabbed the edge of the battle axe and pulled it back. Even though she couldn't compare to this burly man in terms of height and weight, she was much stronger. She directly pulled the burly man and the axe over, and with a sudden lift of her battle knee, she lightly struck the burly man's abdomen with a pa sound. Ah! The burly man immediately hugged his abdomen and knelt down, vomiting almost all the wine he had drunk. He had sobered up a lot, and when he looked up, he saw Lin Muyu in the armor of the Holy Temple. He immediately understood something, and hurriedly cupped his fists and said, It's Lord Lin Muyu? This is embarrassing. Bring me to see Lord Luo Yu, yes? The two of them hurried out of the door, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded spectators. Many of them still hadn't recovered from the shock. After a while, a mercenary with a sword finally said with a trembling voice, That kid seems to be a Heaven Realm expert. I saw battle energy. Heaven Realm. Heavens, Heaven Realm. The group of people looked as if they had seen a ghost. After leaving Lanyan City, they found a dilapidated house in the forest outside the city. The burly man said respectfully, Commander, this house has been abandoned for a long time, and people rarely come here, so Lord Luo Yu set up this place as a temporary camp for the Longdan army camp. How many people have we recruited? Lin Muyu asked while riding on her warhorse. The burly man walked, carrying his battle axe, and grinned. There should be around 60 people now, right? Just this. Although there are many warriors in Lanyan City, many of them are boorish people who have not even stepped into the human realm. It's a little difficult to find experts above the human realm. In less than half a month, Lord Luo Yu has already found more than 50 people. It's really not easy. Lin Muyu nodded. In fact, to put it in another way, the reason why they could recruit so many people was because of money. She did not give the 100,000 Jingren coins for nothing. Outside the dilapidated house, a flag fluttered in the wind. It was a very simple flag, and the words, Longdan Army Camp, were written on it. There was no one patrolling outside at all. When Lin Muyu stepped into the house, she saw a large group of people scattered in the yard. Some were smoking, some were drinking, and some were playing dice and gambling by the millstone. Looking at this group of people, the younger ones were 17 or 18 years old, and the older ones were in their 40s. Some were shirtless, some were only wearing underpants, and there were two people who had taken off their shirts and were comparing whose chest muscles trembled more frequently. Their faces were flushed, and they looked like they were unwilling to admit defeat. Lin Muyu was a little flustered when she saw this. She came from the modern era and had seen breast-shaking dance, but it was definitely not a dance performed by men. At this moment, looking at this yard full of JP, she was incomparably ecstatic. Someone's here. A mercenary jumped up from a tree and said, Look, a high-ranking officer of the Empire has arrived. He's definitely here to raid us. Brothers, get ready to attack. In an instant, a group of ferocious mercenaries surrounded Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was still riding on her warhorse. She looked at the group with a smile and said, What do you want? Do you want to rob me or kill me? A skinny man holding a spear shook his weapon, and the tip of the spear was enshrouded with true energy. He smiled and said, We won't rob you or kill you. We just want to ask how many Jingren coins you have on you. We brothers are short on money to buy some wine these days. Isn't this a robbery? Bah, I said it's not a robbery, so it's not a robbery. Idiot. These people's intelligence was worrying. Lin Muyu couldn't help but be worried. She raised her eyebrows and said, Luo Yu, come out and see me. Creak. The door to the room in front of them opened. Luo Yu walked out with a face full of fatigue and said with a smile, Captain is back. This is great. Why are you pointing your weapons at him? He's Captain Lin Muyu. The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. One of them said in a low voice, This brat looks like a pretty boy. He's definitely a trash kept by those fat ladies in Yanlan City. What right does this kind of person have to be our boss? Oh, are you guys choosing a boss? Lin Muyu laughed and got off her horse. She didn't even take out her weapon. She looked at the group of people around her and said, You idiots dare to be so arrogant? Come at me together. Don't say that I'm bullying you. Luo Yu was stunned. My lady Yu, it's okay. I know what I'm doing. Lin Muyu smiled and said, In fact, she knew very well that although these mercenaries looked ugly, they were at least in the human realm. Some of them had even stepped into the earth realm. These people were the strongest in the village, and they were all very arrogant. If she didn't show them her skills, she might not be able to be the captain of the Longdan army camp. Buzz. The gourd rose up and Lin Muyu raised her fist. Instantly, A dense battle energy surrounded the area. Heavens, he's a heaven realm expert, just like Lady Luo Yu. Yes, that's battle energy. So what if he's in the heaven realm? We have more people. If he wants to be our boss, let's see if he has the ability to do so. As they spoke, the group of people surged forward. One of them, who was in the second heaven of the earth realm, roared and punched at Lin Muyu's chest like a dragon coming out of the sea. This punch was very powerful and could not be underestimated. However, Lin Muyu only dodged to the side and raised her hand to punch the man's abdomen. With a bang, the man took a few steps back and knelt on the ground holding his stomach, unable to get up. The chaotic attacks landed on the walls of the gourd, but they were all blocked by the mystic tortoise shell and the dragon scale wall. On the other hand, Lin Muyu raised both her fists and directly used the fiery soul fist that she learned from Jianghu. Her fists danced, sending the mercenaries flying back one by one. Just when the group of mercenaries was the most tightly encircled, Lin Muyu raised one of her arms. Waves of demonic energy surrounded her arm, and she suddenly punched the ground. 2 luminaries' demonic dance. Bang! The 7 luminaries' Xian energy, which was only 30% of its strength, surged and turned into a shockwave. The strong impact sent the group of people flying. In the blink of an eye, a large number of people fell, leaving only Lin Muyu standing proudly in the center. How is it? Do I deserve to be the commander of the Longdan army camp? He asked with a smile. The group of mercenaries cupped their fists and said, Commander is mighty. Commander is awesome. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, Let me ask all of you a question. Commander, please say it. You're the strongest, so you have the final say. Lin Muyu pondered and asked, Do you want to be a hero or a coward? Everyone was stunned. After a few seconds, they said, Commander, we want to be heroes. Lin Muyu shook her head and smiled faintly. But now, all of you look like cowards. Chapter 169. The group of Longdan army camp mercenaries were stunned. They didn't know what Lin Muyu was planning. They couldn't figure out what their leader was thinking. Lin Muyu's battle energy rose up and strengthened the walls of the gourd. He raised his eyebrows and said, Only a coward would beg for mercy. The Longdan army camp is called the Longdan army camp because we have guts. If you are not cowards, then think of a way to defeat me. Otherwise, how can you be worthy of being the mercenaries of my Longdan army camp? Hey, come on. In an instant he angered these people. One by one, the mercenaries took out their weapons and looked like they were going to risk their lives. Luo Yu stood at the side and was stunned. In the next moment, the battle continued. A large group of mercenaries waved all kinds of weapons and slashed at Lin Muyu. They also used all kinds of secret skills, evil dog snatching *T. Umbrella dragon in the sky. Lion steals peach. Deadly chain lightning kick. All kinds of attacks landed on the walls of the gourd. What followed was Lin Muyu's counterattack. He punched them one by one and beat them until their faces were swollen. These mercenaries seemed to have become wild and rushed forward with their faces covered in blood. Under this situation, Lin Muyu's battle energy was running out. In the face of so many Heaven Realm and Earth Realm experts, he only relied on the second star to intimidate them. If so many people fought with their lives at the beginning, Lin Muyu's battle energy would be depleted even faster. Very quickly, holes began to appear on the walls of the gourd. Large machetes, Buddhist staffs, and other weapons began to smash the mystic tortoise shell's flame barrier into pieces. Furthermore, more than half of the people in this group possessed martial souls. Attacks with martial souls were even more deadly. Although Lin Muyu managed to send 7 or 8 people flying with more than 10 punches, he was already having a hard time dealing with the encirclement. It was fortunate that his martial soul, the gourd, was focused on defense. If it was Feng Jixing or Chu Huayin, who had martial souls that focused on offense, they would not be able to withstand the attacks without killing or severely injuring their opponents. Pa pa pa. A streak of lightning spread out from Lin Muyu's palm. Keng. She pulled out the burning prairie sword from the horse's back. Using lightning to control the sword, the burning prairie sword swept in all directions, shaking away the weapons of the group. Lin Muyu let out a low shout and used wind to control the sword. Suddenly, a gale swept in all directions, blowing everyone back. All right. Lin Muyu stood where he was, and the burning prairie sword appeared above his shoulder, flashing with lightning. He smiled and said, "You guys really didn't disappoint me. It's already not bad to be able to do this." At this time, the mercenaries lying on the ground got up one by one. One of the strong men whose nose was bleeding wiped the blood from his nose and asked, "Leader, are you that Lin Muyu who recently saved the emperor and the capital's #1 beauty, Her Highness Yin, from Deer Song Garden?" "Ah, you've seen Her Highness Yin? What does she look like?" Everyone's eyes widened. "Damn it." Lin Muyu was a little speechless and said, "You guys shouldn't be paying attention to Her Highness Ying, right? Besides, what does Her Highness Ying's appearance have to do with you guys? Train well and establish the Longdan Army Camp as the #1 mercenary group in Lanyan City. This is our first step." Luo Yu's heart was already filled with a million what the F***CK's horses were galloping. He didn't think that Lin Muyu's training method was so strange. The greeting gift was to beat up his subordinates first. He cupped his fists and smiled, giving Lin Muyu an imperial military salute and said, "Leader is wise." Everyone followed suit and saluted. This kind of military salute made Lin Muyu feel very comfortable. This way, the mercenaries in the Longdan army camp didn't look like a bunch of mobs anymore, although their appearance and expressions didn't look like good people. Luo Yu held the name list and said, "Leader, we've already recruited 62 mercenaries. In addition, in less than 2 hours, there will be another group of people coming to join us. There are more than 30 people in total. They are a group of wandering mercenaries from Seven Seas City." "Wandering mercenaries?" Lin Muyu asked with a frown. Luo Yu couldn't help but smile and cupped his fists. "Don't worry, leader. Although the hands of these wandering mercenaries are stained with blood, it's the blood of unforgivable criminals. They haven't killed innocent people." "Yes, that's good. Get ready. Once this group of people arrives, we'll immediately set off for the new camp. Our warhorses haven't arrived yet. They'll only arrive around dusk. Then wait until dusk." Not long after noon, a large group of people arrived at the dilapidated house. They were indeed all mercenaries from Seven Seas City. They all had tired expressions on their faces. The leader was an old friend of Luo Yu's, which was why he came to join them. There were 39 people in total. Now, the Longdan army camp finally had more than 100 people. A little later, a group of horse dealers drove the warhorses over. There were more than 150 warhorses in total. It was said that they were all high-quality warhorses from the northern desert. They were fast and had good endurance. Each warhorse was sold for 100 gold coins. In one go, the Longdan army camp had 15,000 gold coins. After that, they also had to make the special armor and clothing for the Longdan army camp. This was also an expense. Including weapons, rations, etc., building an army was simply a battle of money. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was not short of money. His crafting skills were almost enough to make him one of the richest people in the world. Arriving at the headquarters of the Hall of Chivalry in the middle of the night, a group of mercenaries from the Longdan army camp looked at everything with bright eyes. The Imperial Guard who was guarding the door recognized Lin Muyu. He smiled politely and said, "General Lin Muyu, our commander asked us to wait here for the handover. Is this your Longdan army camp?" "Huh? It looks pretty good." His smile was a little weird. Immediately, a warrior from the Longdan army camp rushed out with a long spear in hand. He pointed the spear and said, "What do you mean by being weird? If you have the guts, come out and fight 300 rounds with me." Lin Muyu immediately raised his voice and said, "Shut up and return to the team." "Yes, Regiment Commander," he returned with his tail between his legs. This was the result of Lin Muyu beating them up as soon as she arrived. This bunch of motley crew had to first erase their arrogance, or else they would never be able to become true soldiers. Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said with a smile, Yes, it's them. Thank you, General. I will personally thank General Feng later. Then we will go up the mountain. Thank you very much. From now on, this mountain will be guarded by our Longdan army camp. Okay, then we will go back. Thank you. Nearly 500 Imperial cavalrymen went down the mountain in a mighty manner. The group of hooligans in the Longdan army camp was stunned. Lin Muyu saw this and laughed in her heart. After a while, she said, "Don't envy them. One day you will be like them. Perhaps your combat power will be stronger than theirs." Yes, Regiment Commander. The group of mercenaries in the Longdan army camp cupped their fists. At this moment, they looked at Lin Muyu with not only respect but also admiration. This was the mentality of ordinary people, who would be willing to be a hooligan in the eyes of others. If it was possible, everyone would choose to wear the bright armor of the empire and serve the country. They would be loved by the people and become a soldier who protected the country and its honor. Luo Yu had been watching Lin Muyu's every word and action and seemed to be influenced by her. The group of people went up the mountain. The houses had already been prepared. At least, it was enough for the group of people in front of them to live in. The flag of the Longdan army camp was instantly placed on the main altar, fluttering in the night wind. This mountain doesn't have a name yet, Lin Muyu said. Luo Yu smiled slightly. This mountain is rugged, with a lone peak that pierces the clouds like the head of a real dragon. Why don't we call it Dragon Rocky Mountain? What do you think, sir? Dragon Rocky Mountain? Dragon Rocky Mountain? Lin Muyu repeated twice. She remembered that Long Yen was originally Jin Zun from the Hall of Chivalry. His entire life was probably to pursue fame and fortune, but he was killed by Jiang Fenglai in the end. However, the name Dragon Rocky Mountain was not bad. She would treat it as a memorial to this unknown traveler. She smiled and said, "Yes, send someone to invite the craftsman over tomorrow and carve the words Dragon Rocky Mountain on the rock wall. This mountain will be the encampment of our Longdan army camp in the future." Sir. Oh yes, continue to send people around Lanyan City to search for cultivators with good character to join the Longdan army camp. After they enter the Longdan army camp, give them a monthly salary so that they have something to rely on. In addition, maintain a high intensity of training every day so that everyone knows how to ride horses, shoot arrows, use swords, and so on. Yes, the training will be settled. Sir, you don't have to worry. Oh yes, sir, do we need to accept those employment missions from the mercenary guild? No, you don't have to. Lin Muyu's eyes shone as she said, "You can send people to the nearby villages to accept the missions entrusted by the villagers. If they have needs, we will try our best to satisfy them, especially those wandering mercenaries who are disturbing the surrounding villagers. Think of a way to eliminate them one by one. In this area of Dragon Rocky Mountain, only our Longdan army camp can exist. The rest of the motley crew will be wiped out." Luo Yu couldn't help but laugh. "Sir, do we really have that kind of strength? As far as I know, there are still a few wandering mercenary groups near Dragon Rocky Mountain. It is said that the largest group has at least 2,000 people gathered. They are all bandits and bandits. These people are not to be trifled with. Sir, are we really going to make them our enemy?" "Of course we can." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up. She said each word firmly. "Every time we eliminate a wandering mercenary group, we will choose those with a conscience and decent strength among the captives to join us. After training, we will continue to expand our scale. Also, Luo Yu, you have to pay special attention to one thing." "What is it, sir?" "Military law must be strict. Orders must be followed. If anyone in the Longdan army camp disturbs the people and the situation is serious, they will be killed without mercy." "Yes, don't worry, sir. I will remember." "Okay, that's good. I will make a trip back to the imperial capital. I will leave this place to you temporarily. Let me know when the funds are used up." "Sir." Chapter 170. In the afternoon, the winter sun shone lazily on Lanyan City. Under the mottled shadows of the trees, Lin Muyu slowly rode his horse into the city. He could even enter the imperial capital without being checked just by relying on his divine temple armor and the insignia on his neck. He let the warhorse gallop freely on Tongtian Street. He took out the netherworld stone ring from his chest pocket and put it on his thumb. However, he found that the feeling of the sword was affected when he held it. It seemed that this thing was just an ornament. It was not practical to use it as a weapon or defensive tool. After playing with it for a while, he took off the netherworld stone ring and stuffed it back into his chest pocket. At this time, the street in front of him was very lively. Many commoners had gathered around. Lin Muyu hurriedly urged his horse to go over to take a look. However, he found that there was a convoy in front of him. The rolling carts were connected together like a train, and the carts were transporting the body of a huge creature. It was the carcass of the dragon serpent that was killed in Deer Song Garden. The Imperial Army actually transported the carcass of the dragon serpent back? Looking at the carcass of the dragon serpent, Lin Muyu looked at his burning prairie sword. Even the sharpness of the burning prairie sword could not cut through the scales of the dragon serpent. One could imagine the hardness of the scales. Moreover, each scale of the dragon serpent was about a meter in diameter and was in the shape of a diamond. It was used to make a shield. It should be invulnerable, right? Thinking of this, Lin Muyu could not help but have an idea. He immediately urged his horse forward and found the leader of the convoy. It was an acquaintance, Thousand-Man Commander Luo Lai, one of Feng Jixing's right-hand men. General Luo Lai. Luo Lai turned around and saw Lin Muyu. He could not help but smile. Oh, it's Lord Lin Muyu. Why are you on Tongtian Street? Shouldn't you be at the Eagle's Nest camp? I'm not going to the Eagle's Nest camp today. Lin Muyu rode beside him and asked, where are we going to send such a huge dragon snake's corpse? It was Commander Feng Jixing who asked us to transport the carcass of the dragon snake to the Zetian Palace. He said that the meat of the dragon snake contains a huge amount of fire energy. After drying it, it can be cooked into meat soup to keep out the cold in winter. The dragon snake's bones can be ground into powder and used as medicine to strengthen the body. Moreover, this is a 12,300-year-old dragon snake. If it wasn't for the fact that it didn't pass the tribulation, it would have already transformed into a dragon. I see. Lin Muyu rubbed her hands and smiled. Can I discuss something with you? Oh, what is it? Luo Lai looked at him, amused. Can you give me all the scales of this dragon snake after you cut them off? Is that so? Luo Lai smiled. Sir, are you going to use the scales of the dragon snake to make a shield or a chain armor? I see. All right, since the commander didn't say that he wanted the scales. Besides, this dragon snake was killed by Lord Lin Muyu. There's nothing wrong with giving the scales to you. You can come with me to the palace. When we deal with the carcass, we will send the scales to you. All right, thank you, General Luo Lai. Sir, there's no need to be so polite. We're all on the same side. After entering the Zetian Palace, they dealt with the carcass of the dragon snake in the side hall. The imperial chefs cut the meat and separated the bones. The blood-stained scales were loaded onto the horse carriage. Lin Muyu counted carefully. There were more than 500 scales in total. Her heart was filled with joy. These scales filled 5 full carriages. Feng Jixing assigned 20 more imperial guards to Lin Muyu. In the afternoon, they transported the scales to the largest ironware shop in the imperial capital, 100 King's Ironware Shop. It was said that this ironware shop had tens of thousands of years of history. It had been through hundreds of emperors, hence its name. However, not long after Lin Muyu entered the ironware shop, a familiar figure appeared, Jin Shaotang. Brother you haven't appeared in a long time. Jin Shaotang walked up to him intimately. Suddenly, she pouted and said, you asked me to introduce you to the Hall of Chivalry. I didn't expect you to go on a mission to spy on the military. This time, Shaotang has offended the Hall of Chivalry because of you. It's up to you. Lin Muyu was full of regret. I'm sorry. Shaotang, I was in the wrong. I'll apologize to you. Oh yes, why are you here? Jin Shaoting patted the sign of the ironware shop and said, because this 100 King's Ironware Shop is also an asset of the Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce. Of course, I have to come here. As she spoke, she looked at the pile of dragon snake scales on the carriage. She smiled and said, Brother Yu, are you using the scales of the dragon snake as the main body to forge a shield? Wow, these scales are so thick. How old is this dragon snake? More than 10,000 years. That's a lot. Jin Xiaotang stuck out her tongue and smiled. If that's the case, I'll make the decision myself and give you a cheap price. I'll only charge 10 gold kin coins for each shield. I'll use 100-year dark steel to forge the edges of the dragon snake scales. The perforation and polishing fees will all be within 10 gold kin coins. How does that sound? Okay, thank you, Xiaotang. But there's a condition. Oh, what condition? Jin Xiaotang pulled Lin Muyu's hand and said, Father recently received a shipment from the west. There are a lot of rainbow lotuses. Brother Yu, do me a favor and make 100 bottles of Dream of the Peak for the Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce. How about that? Our last auction of Dream of the Peak was aborted. Many customers are waiting to buy it. Okay, then let's go to the Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce. I want to buy some materials to recast my weapon. But once again, he went to the Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce. Accompanied by Jin Xiaotang, he looked through the rare materials in the Spirit Stone shop. In the end, he only chose a 9,700-year-old black tortoise spirit stone. This would be used to refine the nether cyan stone. As for the other spirit stones, he didn't think much of them. Forget it, he wouldn't forge a weapon this time. Xiaotang, do you have any iron ores that are suitable for tempering? He asked. Jin Xiaotang blinked and said, I do have some, but I don't know if brother you will like it. Oh, what kind of iron? Let me see. Okay. Jin Xiaotang walked up and said to the shopkeeper, Boss Qian, can you show me the iron ore that can't be smelted in your shop last time? Yes, eldest Mississippi. At the shopkeeper's order, a burly blacksmith immediately carried a pile of black iron ore and walked up. He wiped it, and his hands were immediately covered with black ash. Jin Xiaotang smiled and said, This is the smelly stone. It has been smelted in the 100 Kings ironware shop for 10 days and 10 nights, but it still hasn't melted. It is said to be a stubborn stone, but who knows what it is. If brother you wants it, you can take it for 1 Jin coin. If you don't want it, we still have some 10,000-year black iron and 1,000-year black iron for you to choose from. Lin Muyu reached out and touched the black stone. Immediately, a thick spiritual power flowed into her palm. This was definitely not a stubborn stone that couldn't be smelted. At this moment, Lulu's excited voice came from Ihai. Brother, this stone is the legendary 9 Heavens spirit iron. It is a divine iron that fell from the sky into the mortal world. If it can be smelted, it will definitely be a divine weapon. Really? Lin Muyu also smiled and said with her spiritual perception, That's great. He immediately took out a Jin coin and placed it on the table. Then he smiled and said, Wrap it up. I want this stubborn stone. I want to see how stubborn it really is. Jin Xiaotang giggled. Boss Qian, wrap up the stubborn stone. Yes. Then, Jin Xiaotang directly provided a large pile of rainbow lotus and skeleton tree herbs to Lin Muyu for free. She only asked him to refine Dream of the Peak to increase the Imperial Chamber of Commerce's dominance. Jin Xiaotang was a girl who was very good at doing business. This made Lin Muyu secretly happy. Who wouldn't like doing business without any cost? After agreeing to go to the ironware shop to collect the dragon snake shield in 3 days, Lin Muyu directly returned to the Eagle Nest camp. On the Eagle Nest Mountain, brand new barracks had already been built. As the commander, Lin Muyu's living quarters were arranged in a hall in the center. It was relatively spacious and very quiet. It was very satisfying. After dinner, he started working. He spent close to 3 hours refining 132 bottles of Dream of the Peak. Other than 100 bottles for Jin Xiaotang, he kept the rest for the people in the Longdan army camp who had a higher cultivation level. Improving his own family's strength was the most important. Then, he started the process of refining the Netherworld stone ring. Buzz, The crafting cauldron glowed with a frightening luster in the room. Lin Muyu stood outside the cauldron and threw the netherworld stone ring into it. Immediately, raging flames lingered around the ring like ribbons. Silently feeling the structure of the netherworld stone ring, Lin Muyu's spiritual perception slowly permeated it. She discovered that the structure of the netherworld stone was indeed very strange. It was somewhat similar to the molecular structure of a diamond. It was extremely hard, and unlike a diamond, the netherworld stone's melting point was also ridiculously high. However, Lin Muyu didn't plan to refine it. She directly used the fifth layer of the crafting cauldron's hellfire to slowly comb through the structure of the netherworld stone ring. She opened up the joints in the stone material and then started refining the 9,700-year-old mystic tortoise spirit stone. After almost an hour, the spirit stone was successfully refined. Amidst the roar sounds, the azure blue dragon turtle's soul roared in the air and slowly seeped into the netherworld stone. After a while, the netherworld stone glowed and landed in Lin Muyu's palm. She put the ring on her thumb and activated her Do Qi. In an instant, the spirit of the mystic tortoise was already lingering around the ring, ready to come out at any time to protect its owner. The mystic tortoise was originally good at defense, and this ring that had been refined was equivalent to a defensive tool. She put the ring away. Although this netherworld stone ring was very strong, its appearance was shockingly ugly. Lin Muyu had already decided to give it to Reihong. As the great deacon of the divine temple, the old man should have some treasured tools that were worthy of his identity to protect himself. The highlight was coming. Refining that stubborn stone, 9 heavens spirit iron. Chapter 171. The flames in the cauldron soared to the sky. Lin Muyu had pushed his Do Qi to the limit, converting it into the energy of the flames in the cauldron. He continuously burned and tempered the rock that was floating in the cauldron, weighing about 100 pounds. The hellfire surged violently, emitting a whistling sound as it roasted the entire hull. Lin Muyu furrowed his brows, beads of sweat seeping out from his forehead, flowing down his cheeks and dripping to the ground. This won't do. About 2 hours later, he sighed softly as his fighting chi slowly decreased. The flames in the cauldron also slowly died out. Lin Muyu panted heavily. This rock's characteristics are too miraculous. Every time I'm about to refine it, it produces a stubborn energy that refuses to be refined. I still can't reach the melting point of this 9 heaven spirit iron. Lulu flew out of the EC and flapped her wings in the night. Brother, perhaps the 5th level of the cauldron is too difficult to refine this 9 heaven spirit iron. Why don't we give up? No, I want to try again. Don't force yourself. Lin Muyu's personality was one that refused to believe in superstitions, so he once again raised his true chi and tried to refine the 9 heaven spirit iron. However, after an entire night, he still couldn't refine it. In fact, it was getting harder and harder to refine the rock. It was probably because his fighting chi was exhausted. By the time morning came, he was on the verge of death from exhaustion. There was no other way. He washed up and went to sleep. When he woke up the next afternoon, he didn't even try and directly entered Lanyan City alone to go to the Holy Temple and give the nethergreen stone ring to Lei Hong. First, he took a detour to the Imperial Merchant Guild and gave the 100 bottles of Dream of the Extreme to Jin Shaoing. The average transaction price was more than 5,000 gold coins per bottle. If everything went as expected, these 100 bottles would return about 400,000 gold coins. This money had to be used wisely. Lin Muyu was born in a business family and knew that the market would eventually be saturated. After these 100 bottles were sold, it would be difficult to sell them again. After all, there were only so many people who had 5,000 gold coins to buy a bottle. After these people spent their money, others might not be able to afford it anymore. At that time, there would be an awkward market situation where there was no supply. He turned around and headed straight for the Sanctum Sanctorum. In the winter, the warhorses neighed as they arrived at the front of the Sanctum Sanctorum. There were about a dozen Sanctum guards returning to their homes. They were patrolling the perimeter of the Sanctum Sanctorum. When they saw Lin Muyu, they immediately surrounded her. Their faces were filled with excitement as they smiled and said, "Master Lin Muyu is back." Is everything all right in the Holy Cathedral? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. It's very good. Is Master Lin Muyu here to look for the chief deacon? That's right, he's in the main hall, right? Yes. Good. After entering the holy temple and looking from afar, the training hall was filled with low roars and sounds of fighting. The instructors and sparring partners were currently training. Lin Muyu also suddenly remembered his promise to Reiham to return to the holy temple to be a sparring partner every half a month. Time passed so quickly. If not for the heavy snow in the dragon-seeking forest delaying his journey, he would have returned long ago. Big brother Linji. Suddenly, a person rushed out of the training hall, holding a sharp sword in his hand. It was Qin Yen. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. It's little Prince Qin Yen. Why haven't you changed the way you address me? I'm called Lin Muyu here. I forgot. Qin Yen scratched his head and said with an awkward smile, Big brother, are you returning to the holy temple to be a sparring partner again? Qin Yen hasn't sparred with Big brother for a long time. If there's a chance, you must give me some pointers. And alright, I'll go meet Chief Deacon Reiham first to discuss some matters. Little Prince Qin Yen, wait for me here for a while. I'll come over to look for you in a while. Alright, Big brother, go and come back quickly. On the waterside pavilion corridor of the main hall, Gu Yang still had a doddering appearance, hugging a scroll in his hands. He squinted his eyes and said with a smile from afar, You is back? Grandpa Gu Yang, bring me to see the chief deacon? Let's go. The chief deacon is currently cultivating in the main hall. And alright. Pushing open the main hall's doors, 2 holy temple guards stood guard inside. Reiham sat on the chief deacon's throne in the center, his complexion full of vigor. Battle chi enshrouded his body, currently cultivating the spirit-returning art that he relied on to make his name. After sensing 2 powerful forces entering the main hall, he slowly opened his eyes and said with a smile, You're finally willing to return to the holy temple? Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said with a smile, Lin Muyu pays respect to Grandpa Deacon. Heh, stinking brat. Reiham's face was filled with benevolence as he said with a smile, I heard that you performed a great service in Deer Cry Park again and were promoted to Dragon General. It's said that you were even adopted by His Majesty. Lin Muyu was taken aback and said, Adopted son is just a verbal title. It doesn't have any actual meaning. Grandpa Reiham, don't use this matter to tease me. If that's the case. Reiham narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, A title is good. After all, your name has already been recorded in the Qin clan's genealogy. Although you won't be able to reproduce, it's still a kind of honor. This kind of honor is something that others can't obtain even if they pursue it their entire lives. You must cherish it. The Qin clan has ruled the continent for thousands of years and has always been generous and benevolent. Joining the Qin clan is a blessing. I know, Lin Muyu smiled. The main reason I returned to the holy temple this time is to give Grand Deacon a gift. Oh, a gift? Reiham's eyes lit up as he said with a smile, What gift does you want to give Grandpa? Lin Muyu took out the netherworld stone ring from his cosmos sack and held it in his hand. The black tortoise's refined soul glowed within the ring and a faint roar could be heard. He offered it up and said with a smile, It's this. Grand Deacon, take a look and see if you like it. Reiham took the ring. Just by touching it, he could feel the surging refined soul power. His eyes instantly widened and he said in astonishment, is this a saint weapon? Lin Muyu shook his head, Because I don't understand the grades of accessories other than weapons, I don't know if it's a saint weapon or not. In short, as long as Grand Deacon likes it, it's fine. I like it, of course I like it. Reiham almost couldn't bear to part with it. He said, What's the origin of this ring? How did you do it? Grandpa has always wanted to ask you, what's up with your blacksmithing skills? Lin Muyu shook his head and smiled, Grandpa, don't ask about this. There are some things that you won't understand even if I explain it to you. Reiham narrowed his eyes and smiled. For example? Lin Muyu's lips curled up. For example, if I said that I came from another world, would Grandpa believe me? Raham was stunned at first, then he laughed out loud. You, don't joke with this old man. Another world? How can there be another world in this world? Other than this place, there are only heaven and purgatory. The laws of the three worlds have been like this since ancient times. Which world could you have come from? Lin Muyu giggled. That's why I can't explain it. Grandpa, just treat it as a joke. This ring is called the nethergreen stone ring. The nethergreen stone is exceptionally hard and can be said to be indestructible. Later, I refined a 9,700-year mystic tortoise spirit stone into a beast soul and fused it into this ring. So, this ring now has the ability to protect its owner. Grand Deacon, please take good care of it. Rahong put the thumb ring on his thumb lovingly and said with a smile, I will. Thank you, I. Stay here today and have dinner in the Holy Temple tonight? No, there are still many things that I need to manage in the Eagle Nest camp. Oh right, when are you going to return to the Holy Temple as a sparring partner again? It'll be 15 days. I'll come back when the time is right. Stinky brat, now that you're in such a high position, you probably don't want to come back anymore, right? Raham smiled and said, how's your advancement? Come, go to the testing crystal and see what level you've reached. Lin Muyu walked over to the crystal plate with ease and suddenly shouted in a low voice, raising her battle chi to the limit. Immediately, the indigo green gourd martial soul circled around her, radiating resplendent light. The crystal to the side reflected rays of light, 6 long lines and 8 short lines. It was very beautiful to look at. Guyang smiled and said, looks like you has reached the first level of the heavenly realm, level 68. He's close to the peak of the first level of the heavenly realm. He only needs an opportunity to step into the second level of the heavenly realm and have the ability to condense battle armor. Lin Muyu was also taken aback and nodded happily. He didn't expect his strength to increase so quickly after all the battles and cultivation in the dragon-seeking forest, the Hall of Chivalry, and Deer Cry Park. It seemed that he really needed to find a chance to plan for a breakthrough. However, what bothered him even more was how to obtain the next level of the treasure refining cauldron. If he didn't refine that piece of 9 heaven spirit iron, it would always be like a knot in his heart that couldn't be untied. After bidding farewell to Raham and Guyang, he carried the prairie burning sword to the trial hall. An administrator was presiding over the morning trial. When he saw Lin Muyu, he immediately cupped his fists respectfully and said, Master Lin Muyu. Hello, Administrator Sun Kuang. The Holy Hall armor Lin Muyu was wearing was similar to those of the Gold Star and Silver Star sparring masters. The only difference was that Lin Muyu had a military insignia embedded in his collar. The golden purple flower on it had a beautiful luster and was extremely dazzling. This military insignia also signified one's status and identity in the army. This was something that the instructors and sparring masters couldn't compare to, which was why the administrator was so polite. Not long after, Qin Yan walked out of the trial room, covered in hot sweat. He said with a smile, Big Brother is back. Everyone come over here. I want to spar with Big Brother. Immediately, the instructors and sparring masters all walked out of the trial room. After all, Lin Muyu was known as the #1 sparring master of the Holy Hall, while Qin Yan was the #1 instructor in the Holy Hall in name and in reality. Their spar was naturally very eye-catching. Many people didn't come to watch for victory or defeat, but to see how a true expert would use martial arts to obtain victory in battle. In the eyes of true cultivators, watching was in itself a kind of stealing a master's skills. Chapter 172. Crack. The prairie-burning sword transformed into a streak of fiery light and swept across Qin Yan's dragon-scale armor martial soul shield, but it only left behind a shallow mark on it. And Qin Yan's strenuous counterattack also caused a groove to appear on the wall of Lin Muyu's gourd. However, this mark was swiftly repaired by battle chi. This was the result of the recovery ability. Qin Yan's fire snake spear battle method was wide open and wide, seemingly reckless, but concealed a profound theory. Each attack would always hold back, allowing Lin Muyu to dodge the first attack but absolutely not the second. Even the number of times he attacked Lin Muyu was quite a few times more than the number of times Lin Muyu attacked him. But Lin Muyu borrowed the gourd martial soul's many techniques. Under the unceasing consumption of the recovery ability, Qin Yan's dragon scale armor was already riddled with holes. All right. Qin Yan abruptly blasted back Lin Muyu with a spear. Panting heavily, he laughed loudly and waved his hand, saying, "My battle chi is already exhausted. Big brother Lin Muyu is indeed very impressive. No wonder Big Brother said that your strength is absolutely not beneath his." Did Big Brother Qin Lei say so? Yes. He and Commander Feng Jixing's evaluation of you is very high, feeling that you are the person with the highest talent and comprehension ability among the younger generation in the imperial capital. Perhaps. You will also be the strongest person in Lanyan City in the future. Like that, huh? Lin Muyu rubbed her nose and said somewhat awkwardly, "I'm not that impressive. Otherwise, I also wouldn't have nearly been killed time and time again." Qin Yan chuckled. "But didn't you avert danger every time? This is proof of strength. All right, little Prince Qin Yan, I'm returning to the Eagle Nest camp. I'll send Big Brother off." All right. Qin Yan escorted Lin Muyu all the way out of the Divine Palace, shocking the few Divine Palace guards outside. The second son of Prince Jining actually escorted Lin Muyu out. This kind of treatment was not available to others, and they could not help but respect this number one sparring partner of the Divine Palace a little more. In fact, the people in the Divine Palace were truly in awe. In the competition just now, Lin Muyu had clearly won. In many people's hearts, the strength of the number one sparring partner was still above that of the number one instructor. Lin Muyu's strength was so strong that it was as terrifying as a freak. After returning to the Eagle Nest camp, he continued to try to refine the Nine Heaven Spirit Iron, but he was unable to do so. Late at night, Lin Muyu had already tried countless times, and her face was a little pale. Lulu fluttered on his shoulder and said, "Big brother, why don't we give up? This isn't a solution either." Lin Muyu was extremely weak. She nodded and sat down on the floor tiles dejectedly. At this moment, Wei Chao's voice came from outside. "Lord Commander, Princess Tang Xiaoxi requests an audience." "Oh, Xiaoxi is here?" Lin Muyu's heart warmed, and she hurriedly got up and walked out of the residence. The night was not very good. There was no moon or stars, and it was pitch black. Outside, under the illumination of the torches, Tang Xiaoxi dismounted and walked over with a smile. When she got closer, she saw Lin Muyu's expression and couldn't help but be stunned. "Mu, what's wrong with you? Have you not recovered from your injuries from the battle at Deer Cry Park?" "No." Lin Muyu shook her head. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and took out a silk handkerchief to wipe the sweat off his forehead. "I have been cultivating in seclusion in the Duke's residence these days, and didn't expect so many things to happen outside. I'm really sorry." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "Xiaoxi, why are you apologizing? You haven't let anyone down." "No, it's just that I should have come to see you earlier." "This." Lin Muyu suddenly felt speechless. "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. "All right." Lin Muyu stepped aside, and Tang Xiaoxi ordered the guards behind her to stay outside, while she followed Lin Muyu into his residence. Wei Chou followed closely behind, and with an ambiguous smile on his face, he asked, "My lord, do you need me to prepare something for you?" His smile was really asking for a beating, and Lin Muyu glared at him. "Prepare what? What's with that smile on your face? Don't tell me you want to prepare a box of Durex for me?" Wei Chou was stunned. "What is Durex?" Tang Xiaoxi was also stunned, and asked with a smile, "Mu, is that?" Lin Muyu scratched her head, and secretly hated herself for blurting it out. She said awkwardly, "It's a type of tea from my hometown. It's very smooth. It has various fruity flavors." Tang Xiaoxi squinted her beautiful eyes and said with a smile, "Looking at your lying face, I really want to beat you up, but is there really fruity tea?" If there's time, you must invite me to try it. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face, Lin Muyu couldn't help but think about some other things. She nodded and said, "Cough, cough. If there's a chance, if you're willing." Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Hee hee, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I be willing?" Wei Chou stood at the side in a daze. "Then, my lord, do you still want me to prepare some snacks, tea, and fruits for you and Princess Shi tonight?" "No." "Yes, my lord." Although Lin Muyu's room was spacious, it didn't have many furnishings. There was a table, a few chairs, and the rest was a bed. After Tang Xiaoxi entered the room, she looked around and sat on the bed. She said with a smile, "Mu, this room of yours, other than the bed being a little soft, there's really nothing good about it. The bed, it's good to sleep comfortably." Lin Muyu forcefully suppressed the urge to invite Tang Xiaoxi to try the bed. After all, this was a different world where words and actions were more serious. It wasn't the world where she could casually joke around. It wouldn't be good if Tang Xiaoxi flipped out. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, "Are you nervous? Then why aren't you coming over and sitting down?" "Oh, okay. I mean, come sit beside me." "Ah, okay." Lin Muyu obediently sat on the side of the bed, her heart filled with even more complicated feelings. At this moment, Wei Chou walked in with a plate of fruits and a pot of warm wine. He couldn't help but be stunned. "Did I disturb you guys?" "No." Tang Xiaoxi opened her big, watery eyes and smiled innocently. Lin Muyu gestured, "Wei Chou, you can leave after you put down the things." Wei Chou turned around and left. A man and a woman stayed in a room together, and the atmosphere was slightly awkward. The faint fragrance from Tang Xiaoxi really tested a person's patience. Lin Muyu was a hot-blooded man after all, so how could he resist this kind of temptation? He hurriedly used the spirit pulse technique to clear the distracting thoughts in his mind. But at this time, even Tang Xiaoxi was quite nervous. Her beautiful face was red as she said, "Should I not have come tonight?" "No," Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Xiao Shi, how's your advancement recently?" "I'm almost at the peak of the third heaven of the earth realm. Recently, Chu has been teaching me how to cultivate, so my advancement speed is very fast, but I can't break through to the heaven realm. I'm still keeping the 5,000-year-old fire spirit stone that you brought with you. I'll use it on the day I break through." "I see." Lin Muyu stood up and poured a glass of wine for Tang Xiaoxi. She said, "Drink some wine to warm your body. Xiao Shi's cultivation speed is still very fast, much faster than I thought." Tang Xiaoxi also stood up and said with an unconvinced smile, "What's wrong? Do you think I'm a pampered princess who doesn't want to improve?" "Of course not. Xiao Shi is the best." "Oomph." Tang Xiaoxi drank a glass of wine, and her face seemed to turn even redder. She suddenly asked, "Mu, you saved Xiao Yin in Deer Garden, did she?" She stammered for a long time, but did not say anything. Lin Muyu's heart also beat faster, and she asked, "Did Xiao Yin do something?" Tang Xiaoxi's face turned red, and even Lin Muyu could feel the heat. She stammered for a while and said, "Did she tell you that she likes you?" "No." Lin Muyu was extremely embarrassed. "All right then." Tang Xiaoxi seemed to be relieved of a heavy burden, and she pursed her lips into a smile. "Mu, after you became the commander of the Eagle Nest camp, are you especially busy with military affairs?" Lin Muyu spread her hands. "Do I look like I'm busy with military affairs?" "You don't. Then that's right, I've handed everything to Wei Chou, Xiahou sang, and the other squad leaders of the Imperial Guards." "You can even be so casual as the commander of the Empire's regular army? You're really something, is that so?" Lin Muyu glanced at her and said, "You speak as if you're very diligent. Do you want to see how much work it takes to train and deploy nearly 1,000 troops every day?" Tang Xiaoxi laughed. "I don't want to." Looking at her beautiful smiling face, Lin Muyu's heart was pounding. Just as she was about to lose control of herself, a sudden clap of thunder came from outside. "It's thunder, it's going to rain," Tang Xiaoxi said, blinking her eyes. Lin Muyu chuckled. "Don't worry, There are plenty of rooms in the Eagle Nest camp. If it really rains, you can stay the night in the Eagle Nest camp. A naughty smile appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's face. Does that mean something is going to happen? What could happen? Lin Muyu said righteously. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. Oh, you're so disappointing. I can't talk to you anymore. Lin Muyu was indignant. She was actually being teased by Tang Xiaoxi. It seemed that the girls in this world were quite loving, much more lively than she had imagined. Whoosh! Opening up an oil paper umbrella, Lin Muyu said, Xiaoxi, come out with me to see the thunderstorm? This was a winter thunderstorm. The heavy rain poured down on the Eagle Nest Mountain, causing the flames in the braziers to flicker. In the distance, Wei Chao's loud voice could be heard. Hey, you lazy bums, pay attention to the oil in the braziers. Don't let the fire go out or I'll spank your butts. Tang Xiaoxi smiled, tightened her cloak, and snuggled up to Lin Muyu. Chapter 173. The oil paper umbrella was not big to begin with, so Tang Xiaoxi could only lean against it tightly. Lin Muyu tried his best to cover Tang Xiaoxi's head with the umbrella. In the blink of an eye, half of his armor was soaked. Eagle Nest Mountain was just like its name. It was a towering mountain with a lone peak rising into the sky. It was very similar to the Dragon Rocky Mountain where the Longdan Army Camp was based. The only difference was that the Dragon Rocky Mountain was more spacious and could accommodate more troops. At this moment, thunder rumbled in the distance, accompanied by rain. Lin Muyu naturally reached out and hugged Tang Xiaoxi's shoulder. The two of them walked to the cliff of Eagle Nest Mountain. Looking into the distance, the capital city of Lanyan City was flashing in the lightning and swaying gently with the wind and rain. Tang Xiaoxi turned around and felt Lin Muyu's arm around her. She blushed and smiled. Mu, do you think this place is romantic? Romantic? Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. A bolt of lightning is enough to turn a person into ashes in an instant. The power of the heavens cannot be violated. Eagle Nest Mountain is the highest place around Lanyan City, so it is most likely to attract lightning. This is really not romantic, Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz, You are really unromantic? What? Nothing. Do you want to patrol the camp? There is no need. Wei Chou, Xiahou Sang and the rest are here. Furthermore, we have sentries all around, so it will not be easy for anyone to climb up the mountain. Don't worry, the Eagle Nest camp is very safe now. Our people are everywhere, and I have already forced away all the people that the Divine Marquis residents planted in the Eagle Nest camp. Lin Muyu smiled confidently. Why would I allow anyone to be under my watch? I will not tolerate dissidents like His Majesty. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. She wanted to say something but hesitated. Actually what? Lin Muyu asked. Tang Xiaoxi didn't say anything, but she reached out and wrapped her arms around Lin Muyu's waist, burying her body in his embrace. Perhaps it was because of the cold weather or something else, but her body was trembling slightly. She said, Actually, His Majesty also has his own troubles. Do you know? The King of Light, Qin Jin, was called the King of Light because he had quelled 2 rebellions in the northern desert and southern border. In the northern desert, he had killed more than 300,000 enemy soldiers, and in the southern border, he had killed 170,000 enemy soldiers. That was why he was called the King of Light. But the real commander of both wars was Zhen Yifan, the man known as the Divine Marquis. As she spoke, she pursed her red lips, her beautiful eyes gazing at the lightning in the distance. Her eyes shone as she said, Zheng Yifan has been conferred the title of Marshal twice, and he controls more than 80% of the Empire's military power. Decades have passed, and the Emperor has continuously weakened Zheng Yifan's military power, which has finally resulted in the current situation. 3 of the Empire's 7 major cities, Lanyan City, Qihai City, and Muyu City, have military power in the hands of the Emperor, but the remaining 4 cities are actually mostly controlled by Zheng Yifan's people. Among the Empire's 12 provinces, only 5 provinces are directly under the imperial capital's control. The rest are governed by their own laws. Emperor Qin Jin doesn't rely on Zheng Yifan, but he doesn't dare to touch him. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, Xiaoxi knows a lot more than I do. Tang Xiaoxi laughed softly. I grew up in Seven Seas City and was influenced by what I saw and heard. Of course I know more than you. But Mu, your current status is different from when you were in Kathaya City. You are now one of the 3 commanders-in-chief of the Imperial Army and a general with military power. There are some things you should know. All right, I'll give you a military distribution map of the Empire's 12 provinces later. You should have studied it a long time ago. Thank you, Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu smiled. Unfortunately, Xiaoxi's status is too high. Otherwise, I would definitely keep you by my side as a staff officer. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Status? I don't have a very high status. As long as you want, Mu, I can stay in the Eagle Nest camp for you. The Duke of Seven Seas' residence is so boring anyway. If we're talking about status, I'm afraid that Xiao Yin's status is too high. There's no way she can be your staff officer. Yes, Lin Muyu thought of Qin Yin. Qin Yin had grown up in Zetian Palace. The pressure she endured in this area was probably much greater than Tang Xiaoxi's. When he thought of this, he immediately asked, Xiaoxi, the master of Seven Seas City, is your grandfather, Duke Kanglin. Then, if Duke Kanglin passes away, and I'm saying if, who will be the next master? Will it be you? I won't. Tang Xiaoxi shook her head. After all, I'm a woman. So, unless it's a last resort, I won't be given military power. Besides, I have a few brothers above me. With them around, it won't be my turn to wield military power. Besides, I have no interest in this area. Or, she widened her eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. She smiled. Or do you want me to wield Seven Seas City? If that's the case, I can give it a try. Grandfather loves me so much. Maybe he will make an exception and pass the title of Duke of Seven Seas City to me? Lin Muyu was stunned. Forget it. I don't want you to be so tired. Besides, I'm a person who's good at satisfying others. It's good to have you by my side. If you really go to Seven Seas City to be the master, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for me to see you again. Yes, Mu is the smartest. At this moment, with a sudden crack, a purple thunderbolt fell on the top of the mountain in front of them. It directly struck a pine tree and set it on fire. Moreover, some light purple flames fell from the sky. These flames slowly seeped into the rocks. In the blink of an eye, the rocks actually rustled and weathered away. Lin Muyu's eyes widened. What kind of flame is that? It can actually burn rocks into powder? Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her eyes. It's the heavenly fire. Legend has it that the heavenly fire can burn everything. It's just a piece of cake for it to burn rocks. I didn't expect to see the heavenly fire here. Mu, let's go back quickly. Once the heavenly fire falls on us, I'm afraid we'll be burned into a pile of ashes even if we have the body of the sanctuary. No. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She said, Xiaoxi, go back to my room and wait for me. I need these heavenly fire. This kind of heavenly fire came from nature, but its temperature was even higher than the hellfire. Wasn't this what Lin Muyu needed the most? Seeing her determined look, Tang Xiaoxi bit her red lips and said, Well, Mu won't go back. I'll stay here with you. No, Xiaoxi, go back. It's dangerous here. Humph, you dare to drive me away? I'm a princess. The beautiful princess quickly got into her role and began to put on airs. Lin Muyu shrugged. Well, you help me hold the umbrella. I'm going to refine these heavenly fire. Okay. Tang Xiaoxi held the umbrella. Because of the height difference, she almost crossed her legs. Ignoring the heavy rain, Lin Muyu quickly came to the place where the heavenly fire landed. She opened her hand and spat out her fighting energy. The light of the refining cauldron quickly enveloped the heavenly fire. Then Lin Muyu closed her eyes. It was not easy to refine a kind of fire. She needed to understand its temperature and characteristics. The characteristics of the hellfire were fierce, while the heavenly fire was destructive. Buzz, the crafting cauldron trembled slowly, and the heavenly fire seemed to have a mind of its own. What Lin Muyu needed to do was to use her battle chi to control these heavenly fire and make them submit to her and be used for her own purposes. The night wind was cold, like a knife scraping her skin. Tang Xiaoxi trembled slightly. She had to release the fire fox martial soul. The small fire fox lingered on her shoulder, providing heat for its master. Lin Muyu was immersed in the process of refining the heavenly fire. He closed his eyes and surrounded his whole body with fighting energy. He looked like a god of war resting with his eyes closed. Tang Xiaoxi looked at him, and a smile appeared on her lips. It seemed that just looking at him like this was also a happy thing. The refinement process lasted for 7 hours. By the time the heavenly fire was successfully refined and tamed, it was already close to dawn. The cold rain was still falling. Lin Muyu slowly breathed a sigh of relief and opened his eyes. There was a strange look in his eyes. When he turned around, he found that Tang Xiaoxi was almost frozen into a beautiful ice sculpture. There were even icicles hanging from her long hair. She was staring at him silently with her big eyes. "Are you okay, Xiaoxi?" He anxiously hugged her. "Is it too cold?" Tang Xiaoxi was so cold that her whole body was trembling. She nodded. "Oh, why aren't you cold at all? Your body is so hot, because I'm a young man." "That's enough. Let's go back quickly." "Okay." When they returned to Lin Muyu's room, he quickly ordered Wei Chou to prepare some water for Tang Xiaoxi to take a bath. Then he boiled some ginger soup for her. As for Lin Muyu, he waited outside the door until Tang Xiaoxi finished bathing, ate something, and went to bed. "Are you feeling better?" He looked at Tang Xiaoxi, who was lying on his bed. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and nodded. "Yes, much better. Your guards are waiting outside. If I don't hand you over, they will kill me. Hee hee, let them be. Mu, don't go. Stay here with me, okay?" "Okay then." Lin Muyu sat on the bed and watched Tang Xiaoxi fall asleep. Then she started to work. That's right, she could refine that stubborn stone now. Buzz. The artifact refining cauldron appeared in the hall of her residence. Lin Muyu controlled the artifact refining cauldron with one hand and threw the 9 heavens spiritual iron in with the other. With a soft chant, the 6th layer of refining fire, heavenly fire, emerged and lingered around the 9 heavens spiritual iron as it burned fiercely. In an instant, the outer layer of the 9 heavens spiritual iron began to peel off. It was a success. This heavenly flame was indeed extraordinary. Its refining effect was much stronger than the hellfire's refining effect. After nearly 2 hours, the 9 heavens spiritual iron was completely melted into lava. Lin Muyu reached into her Jianghu bag and took out the 12,300-year-old dragon snake's spirit stone. Then she continued to refine the spirit stone. Chapter 174. Swoosh, swoosh, streaks of heavenly fire in the form of fiery red divine dragons circled around the spirit stone, letting out a low whistling sound. Lin Muyu focused on increasing her battle chi to continuously provide energy to the weapon refining cauldron. Under the constant burning and tempering of the heavenly fire, a corner of the dragon snake spirit stone peeled off, revealing the fiery red layer of spiritual power inside. At the same time, with a long howl, the fiery red soul of the dragon snake rushed out of the spirit stone and began to attack fiercely. It extended its long tongue and opened its bloody mouth to devour Lin Muyu. After refining the soul so many times, Lin Muyu had already expected this. Without saying much, he quickly increased his battle chi to strengthen the protective wall of the weapon refining cauldron. At the same time, he let out a soft shout and his entire aura quickly descended into the weapon refining cauldron, forming an invisible domain. Perhaps his strength was not enough to form a suppressive force in the outside world, but the weapon refining cauldron was his domain, so it was not impossible to condense a suppressive force. In the end, under Lin Muyu's strong suppressive force, the soul of the dragon snake howled miserably and tried to bite Lin Muyu again and again, but all of them hit the protective wall of the weapon refining cauldron in front of Lin Muyu. Unknowingly, he no longer relied on the 7 luminaries' dark force to suppress the beast soul's counterattack. No matter how strong the dragon snake was, it could not touch him at all. Finally, the soul of the dragon snake struggled a little and Lin Muyu slowly raised her arm. Instantly, the heavenly fire chains in the treasure cauldron formed a large hand and grabbed the body of the dragon snake. Under the tempering of the heavenly fire, the soul of the dragon snake instantly disintegrated, turning into specks of starlight that seeped into the scorching hot 9 heavens spirit iron lava. Squeak, squeak. In the faint sound, the impurities in the iron lava were constantly refined and sublimated. The remaining iron lava was red and almost purple. In Ihai, Lulu quickly gave Lin Muyu a set of sword molds. After repeatedly selecting, she finally chose a set that she was more satisfied with. This was a set of sword molds that was designed with the symbol of dragon. The body of the sword was slender, but the edge of the sword was thicker and more dignified. The blade was about 1 centimeter wide, and behind it was a simple and unadorned Eastern pattern. In the center of the blade was a thin blood groove, and on both sides were engraved patterns of divine dragons. The sword hilt appeared very graceful, like the head of a real dragon, and its whiskers slowly spread out, looking very lifelike. At the end of the sword hilt was a 6-pointed star pattern. In the middle of the 6-pointed star was hollowed out, with a Tai Chi 8 trigrams floating above it. The spiritual power was gently flowing, but the people in this world didn't pay attention to the balance of yin and yang, so they probably didn't understand the profound meaning of the 8 trigrams. Soon, the shape of the whole sword was revealed. Lin Muyu closed her eyes and continued to use her spiritual sense to refine the details of the blade. When she was refining the Burning Prairie sword, she adopted the design of compound blades, with a total of 5 compound cutting layers. This way, the sword would be sharper and more durable. However, the material of this sword was rarer than the Millennium Meteoric Iron. The density was higher, and the particles were finer. Therefore, Lin Muyu spent a lot of effort and spent nearly an hour to carefully polish it. She designed a total of 10 compound cutting layers for this new sword. It could be said that this sword was also the pinnacle of Lin Muyu's current forging ability. Ow ow, this dignified and unadorned long sword was done in the blink of an eye, and the roar of a dragon snake that sounded like a real dragon came from it. What should I call it? Naturally, Lin Muyu was very satisfied with this sword. After thinking for a long time, she decided that since this sword was made of dragon snake spirit stone and 9 heaven spirit iron, she would take the common name of the two and call it Dragon Spirit Sword. Puff! The Dragon Spirit Sword fell into the water tank in the room, and suddenly, a burst of steam rose, directly waking up Tang Xiaoxi. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and propped herself up. She asked, "Moo, you're not asleep yet?" "Yes, there's no place to sleep." "Didn't you take the bed?" Lin Mu turned around and saw that Tang Xiaoxi had gone to bed after bathing. She didn't wear a coat at all. At this moment, a large area of her ice skin and jade bones was exposed. In an instant, Lin Muyu felt her head heat up. She hurriedly used the spirit pulse technique to focus. Tang Xiaoxi seemed to have also noticed her appearance. She blushed and immediately burrowed back into the blanket. She took some clothes from the side and put them on one by one. Lin Muyu didn't look at her and reached out to pick up the dragon spirit sword from the bottom of the water tank. This sword was far heavier than an ordinary long sword, about 50 jin. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to swing it at all. However, Lin Muyu was already a heaven realm expert, and his arm strength was astonishing. Moreover, he had sword heart. When he forged the weapon, he had already fused with the sword soul of the dragon spirit sword. Therefore, he could lift the heavy sword as if it was light. He held the dragon spirit sword in his hand and swung it lightly. Hum, hum. The edge of the sword brought with it a formless gust of wind, making people gasp in admiration. This sword was something Lin Muyu had never seen before, be it in appearance or sharpness. Because Tang Xiaoxi was there, Lulu didn't fly out. She only looked at the sea and said with a smile, Congratulations, big brother, for obtaining another peerless godly weapon. According to this world's weapon classification, this dragon spirit sword is a 4th rank Saint grade. 4th rank Saint grade? Lin Muyu was secretly delighted. Is it even sharper than the Emperor's Desolation sword? Of course. The Desolation sword is 6th rank Saint grade, while the Dragon Spirit sword is 4th rank Saint grade. It's 2 ranks higher. This Dragon Spirit sword should be able to cut open the scales of the 10,000-year dragon snake, right? It definitely can. Lulu giggled. Big brother, I didn't expect you to still be troubled by the dragon snake's defense. That's right. Lin Muyu sighed and said, the art of smithing is my biggest reliance in this world. If I can't rely on the sharpness of my weapon to defeat those stronger than me, then what else can I rely on? If my burning prairie sword could pierce through the dragon snake's scales, I'm afraid Xiao Yin and big brother Feng Jixing wouldn't have encountered such danger. Lulu smiled slightly. Big brother, you don't have to blame yourself. Your performance was already very perfect. If you performed a little better, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. And you're right. Lin Muyu waved the dragon spirit sword and cut a piece of black cloth from the curtain at the side to wrap the newly forged sword. However, at this moment, someone grabbed his arm. It was Tang Xiaoxi. Is this the work you've been working on all night? Tang Xiaoxi smiled sweetly. Lin Muyu pulled off the black cloth and showed the dragon spirit sword to Tang Xiaoxi without reservation. He asked with a smile, Xiaoxi, is my smithing skills worthy of the title of Grandmaster? Of course. Tang Xiaoxi giggled. Mu is the best. This sword, what grade is it? About the 4th rank of Saint grade. What? A Saint grade weapon? This time, Tang Xiaoxi's mouth was wide open. She looked at him and said, did I hear it wrong? There are only a few Saint grade weapons in the entire Lanyan city. The Emperor's Desolation sword is rumored to be the strongest weapon in the capital, but your sword is stronger than it? Of course it's stronger. Lin Muyu grinned and said, Xiaoxi, you have to keep this a secret. If people know that I'm a grandmaster of smithing, I'm afraid that the door will be broken. Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. If people really know, I'm afraid that His Majesty the Emperor, Duke Kanglin, Duke Muyun, and even King Jinan in Lingnan will send people to invite you to join their families. After all, a person who can forge a Saint-grade weapon is rare in the world. Moreover, Mu, the shape of your sword is a bit strange. I'm afraid it won't fit well with a normal scabbard. When you ask someone to forge the scabbard for you, don't take the sword with you. Just draw a drawing directly. Well, Xiaoxi is really thoughtful. I understand. When are you going to forge the scabbard? I'll go with you. I'll also ask you to accompany me for a stroll in Lanyan City. In the afternoon. In the afternoon, Lanyan City was very quiet, but from time to time, there were people galloping on horses. Their destination was the Chamber of Commerce of the imperial capital. It seemed that the 100 bottles of Dream of the Zenith would be auctioned this afternoon. Needless to say, it must be unprecedentedly lively. All the noble childs would not miss the legendary treasure of Dream of the Zenith. Lin Muyu had no intention of watching the grand auction, so he went to the blacksmith shop with Tang Xiaoxi. Due to Tang Xiaoxi's repeated insistence, the scabbard of the dragon spirit sword was forged by Tang Xiaoxi. Scabbards were generally made of wood and metal, so Lin Muyu couldn't do it himself. He was good at forging, but he was not a carpenter. The shopkeeper looked at Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu with a fat face and said with a smile, generally, the wood used in scabbard is divided into several grades. The higher the grade, the stronger and more durable it is. Miss, look, this is mahogany, and the casting cost is only 1 gold kin coin. This is rosewood, and the casting cost is 3 gold kin coins. As for this black spirit wood, it's even more expensive, costing 10 gold kin coins. Of course, the most expensive and also the best is this red gold wood. The wood is very light but very strong. Let's use the red gold wood. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, the accessories for the scabbard can be made of red gold. How much do you think this scabbard will cost? A total of about 120 gold kin coins. Got it. Tang Xiaoxi took out a diamond coin and said with a smile, make it as exquisite as you can. Money is not a problem. The shopkeeper's face was glowing. All right, I will definitely not disappoint Miss and your boyfriend. Ugh. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned, and her face instantly turned red. She wanted to say that Lin Muyu wasn't her boyfriend, but on second thought, there was nothing wrong with that, so she shyly acquiesced. Lin Muyu coughed and didn't say anything else. In any case, Tang Xiaoxi was obedient and treated her well. If she really had a girlfriend like her, it would be a gift from the heavens. However, Duke of Zhonglan might not think that way. After all, Tang Xiaoxi was a princess, so it was impossible for her to marry a mid-ranked general like her. After thinking for a moment, she hurriedly shook her head. What was she thinking? It was all a mess. Chapter 175. Amidst the sounds of hammering, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi waited for nearly 2 hours. The efficiency of this smithy was quite high. 4 or 5 blacksmiths worked together, and in just 2 hours, the scabbard that Lin Muyu needed was forged. Pure gold wood, a type of wood similar to pure gold. It was polished very smoothly, and the hard pure gold was inlaid around it. The metal was engraved with gorgeous patterns, and it looked quite similar to the style of the dragon spirit sword. "Milord, are you satisfied?" the shopkeeper said with a smile. Lin Muyu took the scabbard and weighed it in her hand. It was about 3 kilograms, not bad. She raised her hand to hold the scabbard of the dragon spirit sword, and with a sudden shake, the black cloth was shredded. Before the shopkeeper could see the true appearance of the dragon spirit sword, the blade entered the scabbard with a ka sound, and there was no gap between them. Good craftsmanship indeed. Seeing Lin Muyu's satisfied expression, Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "All right, can we go out now?" "Wait a little longer." "Oh? What are you waiting for?" "In a while, Wei Chou and the others will come." Tang Xiaoxi didn't understand, so she continued to stroll around Skyspan Street with him. In less than half an hour, Wei Chou appeared with dozens of Eagle Nest camp soldiers, and he even dragged a few carriages. They were here to transport the dragon snake shields. "Milord." Wei Chou cupped his fists and said with a smile, "We can go load the goods now." "Let's go." "Yes." When they arrived at the smithy, the shopkeeper had already recognized Lin Muyu. With a face full of smiles, he walked up and said, "Milord Lin Muyu, this batch of dragon snake shields has been completely forged. Please follow me." After entering the inner courtyard of the ironware shop, they saw piles of black dragon snake shields already piled up there. The shopkeeper lifted one of the shields with force and stretched out his hand to gently brush the metal on the edge of the shield. He said with a smile, "The main body of these dragon snake shields is made of dragon snake scales, and the surface is covered with a layer of dark steel. The edge is even cast with 100-year dark steel, and the handle is wrapped with cowhide. It is impervious to water and fire, and can be said to be indestructible. There probably isn't any sharp weapon in the world that can cut through this 10,000-year-old dragon snake shield, right?" "Really?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly and suddenly unsheathed her sword. The dragon spirit sword's aura surged and drew a fiery arc in the air, sweeping across the surface of the dragon snake shield in a straight line. Half a second later, it was sheathed with a dang sound. The speed of her attack stunned Wei Chou, Tang Xiaoxi, and the shopkeeper. It was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed past. Pa! The surface of the dragon snake shield suddenly cracked open. Then, the shield quickly split into 2 halves and landed in the shopkeeper's hands. This, the shopkeeper's face was full of shock. "How is this possible? We have tested it many times. The strongest blacksmith in the shop used our best weapon to hack at the dragon snake shield. Even when he hit the opening, the dragon snake shield was not damaged in the slightest. Madam Lin Muyu, your sword is?" Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "I just want to tell you that there is nothing in this world that is indestructible. All right, move the dragon snake shields out and load them up." Wei Chou looked at the dragon snake shields and said happily, Madam, these shields, are they prepared for the Eagle Nest camp? Lin Muyu quickly dampened his enthusiasm. She could not give him any hope. No, after this, you will accompany me to Dragon Rocky Mountain and send these shields over. I have prepared them for the Longdan army camp. Ah! Wei Chou narrowed his eyes. Madam's mercenary group? Yes, it is officially registered. Heh, it is indeed enviable. The people of the Longdan army camp can actually use such good equipment. Even the most elite troops of the Empire probably do not have such equipment. If you are envious, you can resign from your post and go to the Longdan army camp to be a vice commander. Lin Muyu teased. Wei Chou also laughed. Madam, you must be joking. I have sworn to be loyal to the Empire. Lin Muyu did not point it out. The Longdan army camp was a private army after all. It naturally could not be compared to the Royal Guards. After all, the Royal Guards were the most elite troops of the Empire. It was not an exaggeration to say that the Longdan army camp was unknown. A total of 5 carts of dragon snake shields were loaded onto the carriages. They were wrapped in huge black cloth and slowly drove on Tongtian Street. When they passed by the Duke of Seven Seas mansion, Tang Xiaoxi had no choice but to go home. She pouted and angrily said goodbye to Lin Muyu. She also made an appointment to meet again. In reality, there was no time, but Lin Muyu promised to go to the Duke's mansion to find her when she was free. He continued to lead the caravan forward, and not long after, the sound of weeping could be heard from the front. A group of young women dressed in rags appeared on the street, and they were guarded by Imperial Army soldiers wielding weapons. It was obvious who they were: camp concubines. They passed by the carts. Among them was a girl who looked to be at most 15 years old. Her face was full of dirt, but it could not hide her beauty under her messy hair. Her arms and legs were full of whip marks. It was obvious that she had been whipped. Lin Muyu rode on a horse and looked down at her. The girl actually turned her head and looked up at Lin Muyu. Their eyes met. The girl moved her lips but did not say anything. Wait! Lin Muyu's cry immediately made Wei Chou confused. He said in a low voice, Madam, don't be impulsive again. Even if you save these girls, there will be new ones to replace them. Don't be impulsive. You don't want to be exiled to Tongtian Tower again, do you? Of course not. Lin Muyu smiled and turned her horse around. She looked at the girl and asked, Where are you from? The girl's face was full of fear. Tongtian Province, why did you come to Lanyan City? Lin Muyu tried her best to maintain a sunny smile so that she would not be so nervous. The girl's lips moved again, and her eyes were full of fear. She knew that the person in front of her was a senior officer. If she spoke carelessly, she might meet a more tragic fate. She lowered her head and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, My parents were killed by mercenaries. I was sold here by mercenaries. I know. Lin Muyu sat on her horse, feeling a little hesitant. At this moment, the centurion who was in charge of leading the troops said politely, Madam Lin Muyu, these 40 girls are new recruits. We are just doing our job. We hope that Madam Lin Muyu will not make things difficult for us. After all, we are just following orders. Lin Muyu asked, Madam, how many girls are there in the nurturing hall who have been sold and bought against their will? The centurion looked worried. There are about 50 of them. Madam, what do you mean? I know. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. You don't have to worry. Bring these girls into the nurturing hall, but don't let anyone touch them. Wait for me for an hour. Is that all right? Just treat it as giving me some face. The centurion cupped his fists and smiled. Madam, you must be joking. This is what I should do. Yes, all right. As he watched the group of girls enter the nurturing hall, Wei Chou looked confused. Madam, what are you trying to do? Lin Muyu laughed self-deprecatingly. In the past, I always thought that I was great and could change everything. I thought that I couldn't tolerate even a speck of dust in my eyes. Now, I truly understand the true meaning of the saying, change what you can change and endure what you can't change. Perhaps this nurturing hall is something that I can't change with my power, but I can still change something. Wei Chou, Where is the largest place in Lanyan City to drink and drink with prostitutes? Wei Chou was stunned. Madam, Wei Chou is a commoner, and most of his salary is sent back home for retirement. How can I have extra Jin coins to drink and drink with prostitutes? However, I know of a place called the Smile of Beauty's Alley. There are many restaurants there, and they are all places to drink and have guests stay overnight. Bring me there immediately. The rest of you, escort the dragon snake shield back to Eagle Nest Mountain and wait for my orders. Yes. The two of them spurred on their horses, and not long after, they entered a small alley filled with women. There were brightly colored door signs all around, giving off a sense of déjà vu in the lovely spring brothel. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh inwardly. She and Wei Chou were both young and handsome imperial guards, and they were wearing bright armor at the moment. They quickly became the targets of the brothel keepers. Not far away, a brothel keeper with a mole on her chin quickly came forward. She wasn't afraid of strangers and reached out to grab Lin Muyu's reins. She giggled and said, "Oh, madam, you haven't been here for a long time?" Wei Chou couldn't help but laugh. "Madam, I didn't expect you to also," Lin Muyu said seriously. "Damn it, I swear on my honor that I really haven't been here before. This is just their professional term." "Is that so?" Wei Chou looked like he didn't believe her. Lin Muyu flipped over and got off the horse. The brothel keeper immediately came up to him and held his hand. She said intimately, "Madam, do you know any girls here? If you want them, just tell me. There's no need to be polite or shy." Lin Muyu deliberately propped up his arm and slowly pushed the brothel keeper away. He smiled and said, "Mother, I want to ask, are the girls here for sale?" "Of course, we are for sale. Otherwise, why would we have customers?" "Madam, look, the best girls here sell for 2 gold kin coins a night. The second-class girls sell for 50 silver kin coins a night. The third-class girls are cheaper, only 10 silver kin coins a night." Lin Muyu's face darkened. "I'm not talking about this kind of sale. Then what kind are you talking about, madam?" "I'm talking about those who sell their bodies directly." The brothel keeper giggled, coquettishly. "Madam, you're so bad. The girls here sell their bodies, not their skills." Lin Muyu wanted to die. Wei Chou joked at the side. "Do the third-class girls cost 10 silver kin coins a night? Do you have any girls that sell for 10 copper kin coins a night? You can consider it." The brothel keeper smiled and said, "Madam, you must be joking. Those who sell for 10 copper kin coins a night are not girls, but pigs." Wei Chou was speechless. Chapter 176. Be serious, be serious. Lin Muyu glared at Wei Chou. At the same time, she forced herself to be more serious. She said to the brothel keeper, "Mother, I just want to ask, do you have the kind where I can directly buy a contract to sell her?" The brothel keeper was stunned. "Our ladies are all talented and skilled. If you want to buy one directly, it will be very expensive. What do you intend to do, my lord? What kind do you want?" Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry about what I want to do with them. I want the kind that is happy to do things, understand?" The brothel keeper laughed. "My lord, you want the kind that is passionate and hospitable?" "Yes, you can say that." Lin Muyu's scalp was already numb. Wei Chou was gloating at the side. The brothel keeper had already realized that a big business was coming. She said, "I have a total of 127 ladies in this restaurant. Do you want to call all of them down for my lord to choose?" "Sure." "Okay." The brothel keeper immediately raised her hands and shouted, "Ladies upstairs and downstairs, hurry up and receive the guests." Soon, a large group of prostitutes gathered in the lobby. Wei Chou's eyes were glued to them. Lin Muyu was born in a business family. Her father had brought her out to socialize many times since she was an adult. She had also been to these brothels many times, so she had strong self-control. She had never eaten pork before, but she had seen pigs run. The brothel keeper secretly lifted her already sagging breasts and asked with a smile, "My lord, the contracts of the ladies here are basically between 300 and 500 Jinin coins. How many do you want to buy? 50. Lin Muyu said indifferently, Can you give me a discount? 50? The brothel keeper opened her mouth and said with a smile, That many? Milord, you are really generous. If you buy 50, you can get one a day for 2 months. There won't be any duplicates. Lin Muyu glared at her. Shut up. I'm only asking you, how much does one cost if I buy 50? How about 350 Jianghu coins? However, these 350 Jianghu coins are all for me. Whether the girls want to go with you or not is up to them. I love them very much. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. She looked at the group of prostitutes and said, I won't hide it from you all. I'm buying you all because the foster hall is lacking a batch of female prostitutes. After you all leave with me, you might have to serve those soldiers. However, I won't let you all suffer any losses. As long as I buy you, I can give Mother 350 Jianghu coins for the money. At the same time, I will also give you 350 Jianghu coins. If you are willing, come over. The brothel keeper was dumbfounded. Sir is really generous. Ladies, you might not be able to earn that much in your lifetime. Hurry up. Instantly, many women had already stepped forward. Their faces were filled with numbness and hypocritical smiles. Lin Muyu naturally knew that they were willing to do anything for money. That was good too, it was a consensual relationship. Not long after, the 50 prostitutes had been selected. Lin Muyu muttered to herself and began to count. She gave the brothel keeper 17 diamond coins and 500 Jianghu coins, then went to the gold bank to exchange for Jianghu coins. Every woman received a heavy bag of Jianghu coins. However, most of them were unwilling to bring Jianghu coins into the foster hall. Instead, they directly deposited them in the gold bank. Just like that, it took more than 2 hours. The sky was already close to dusk. When Lin Muyu brought the 50 gorgeously dressed prostitutes to the foster hall, a group of imperial guards couldn't control themselves. In their eyes, these women were much more interesting than the women in distress that they had brought in the afternoon. Lin Muyu found the centurion in charge of the foster hall and stuffed 1,000 Jianghu coins into his hands as a reward. He directly exchanged the 50 women who were unwilling to become concubines in the foster hall. The bright moon cast a layer of silver light on the streets. Lin Muyu and Wei Chou rode slowly with the 50 young women in tow. Wei Chou smiled and said, It seems that after the incident at the Tower of Babel, Sir's methods have matured a lot. Lin Muyu sighed. A fall into the pit, a gain in your wit. How does Sir plan to settle these women? Hire a few carriages and take them to Dragon Rocky Mountain. Sir's plan is, many of them are already homeless. If I dismiss them now, many of them will still be captured by others to become concubines, which is equivalent to not being able to save them. Therefore, I plan to build a village at the foot of Dragon Rocky Mountain and settle these homeless women down. I will let them learn how to farm, weave, and be self-sufficient. At the same time, I can use them to attract able-bodied men to marry, so that they can live well. Sir is wise. Wei Chou's eyes were full of respect. At night, 50 Eagle Nest camp soldiers were sent to protect 500 shields and 50 young women to Dragon Rocky Mountain. Lin Muyu personally escorted them. Although Lanyan City was the imperial capital, Dragon-Seeking Forest was still not safe. The security was extremely poor, especially at night, when bandits and mercenaries were most active. At midnight, they finally arrived at their destination. They could see the lights of Dragon Rocky Mountain in the distance. At the foot of the mountain, a dozen Longdan army camp mercenaries wearing standard armor and holding long halberds stood guard. When they saw Lin Muyu, one of them recognized her and immediately cupped his fists. Greetings, Commander. Open the door and escort us up the mountain. Sir. Lin Muyu's gaze swept across them. These mercenaries no longer had the hooliganism of a ruffian. Instead, they looked a little like soldiers. Luo Yu was indeed a talent. It was indeed the right choice to let him be in charge of the training of the Longdan army camp. Before they reached the peak of the mountain, dozens of cavalrymen led by Luo Yu had already greeted them. Luo Yu cupped his fists and smiled. Sir, you're back. Yes, I'm giving everyone some equipment. Lin Muyu waved his hand and the dragon snake shields on the carriage behind him flickered under the light of the fire. Luo Yu could tell with a glance that they were good stuff. He was ecstatic. This is great, it's like sending charcoal in snowy weather. When we attacked the bandit camp yesterday, many of us were shot and injured. Today, Sir has sent us sturdy shields. Hey, this is great. Let's go. Luo Yu turned his horse around and rode alongside Lin Muyu. Looking at the many girls behind him, he frowned and said, Sir, these girls, are they going to be maids up the mountain? No, there are no maids in the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu shook his head and said, From tomorrow onwards, after training, we will lead everyone to the foot of the mountain to cut down trees and build houses. Within a month, we will build a village under our protection. Is there a problem? Luo Yu was startled. As long as we have money, there is no problem. And then let's do it. Alright, how is the development of the mercenary group recently? Luo Yu's face was filled with joy as he said, Sir, in these 4 days, the Longdan army camp has swept through a total of 3 small mountain strongholds and 2 wandering mercenary groups with less than 200 people. This subordinate has selected talents from the captives and recruited them into the Longdan army camp. Now, we have 274 people. Lin Muyu faintly smiled. In terms of funds, is there enough? It's a bit not enough, it's fine. Lin Muyu took out 100 diamond coins from her cosmos sack and said with a smile, Here's 100,000 Jinin coins. Don't spend too sparingly, Luo Yu nodded. Sir, do your best to recruit people, the more the better. You might as well break the previous selection criteria. Some of the more courageous and upright people can be recruited into the Longdan army camp even if they haven't reached the 2nd level of the human realm. Yes, this subordinate understands. That night, they rested in the Longdan army camp. The next morning, Lin Muyu sent Wei Chou to lead 50 Eagle Nest camp soldiers back to the camp. He would stay in the Dragon Rocky Mountain for a few days. After all, he was the highest authority here, so he had to get used to the people in the Longdan army camp. As for the group of girls, they had all settled down and were just waiting for the village at the foot of the mountain to be developed. Early in the morning, he sent 20 people to the nearby cities to hire carpenters and architects. Then he unfolded a map of the dragon-seeking forest on the table. There were many red dots marked on it. Luo Yu frowned and said, Currently, there are 2 forces that pose the greatest threat to us. One of them is the Flame Wolves mercenary group, and the other is the bandits of the Purple Qilin Mountain. Flame Wolves mercenary group? Yes. Luo Yu said, the members of the Flame Wolves mercenary group are all wandering mercenaries. They make a living by robbing, killing, and robbing. They often cause trouble to the villages within the territory of the Cloud County. Regarding this, the government of the Cloud County can't do anything. The Flame Wolves mercenary group has gathered almost 3,000 mercenaries and is very powerful. However, the total number of troops stationed in the Cloud County city does not exceed 2,000. Good Lord. Lin Muyu held the hilt of the Dragon Spirit sword and said, 3,000 mercenaries is indeed a lot. It's about 10 times the number of us. If we really fight, our chances of winning are not high. Luo Yu smiled and nodded. Yes, that's why I haven't dared to make a move. However, rumor has it that the leader of the Flame Wolves mercenary group, Feng Shi, is already eyeing our Dragon Rocky Mountain. It's said that he is determined to get us. In the next 2 days, the Flame Wolves mercenary group will definitely attack Dragon Rocky Mountain. That's great. A cold light flashed in Lin Muyu's eyes. Then I'll stay on Dragon Rocky Mountain for the next few days and deal with this Feng Shi. After that, Lin Muyu gave her original sword, the Burning Prairie Sword, to Luo Yu. With Luo Yu's strength, she was worthy of this mysterious rank treasure sword. Of course, Lin Muyu's Dragon Spirit sword was even sharper. Any weapon below the mysterious rank would not be able to clash head-on with the Dragon Spirit sword. Otherwise, the sword would break and the person would die. This was the strength of a saint-rank weapon. After nightfall, the cold wind blew. Lin Muyu sat peacefully in the leader's room, cultivating the forging dragon bone remnant scroll and the spirit pulse technique. As his strength and soul continued to increase, his thirst for power grew. Without enough power, he would not be able to stand in this world, not to mention changing anything. Knock, knock, knock. A knocking sound came from the door. Luoyu said, "Sir, I just received a letter from Luoyu. The Flame Wolves mercenary group's 1,500 men have already left their encampment and are heading straight for us. They will arrive at Dragon Rocky Mountain around midnight." Lin Muyu sat up and said, "Arrange for the ambush." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.